Good evening, everyone. I'll call this regular city council meeting to order. If you all rise for the invocation, is Pastor Harris here? All right, great. Pastor, David Daniel from the Baptist Church of God. And then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Evino.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love and your mercy. We thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, coming to save us all. Father, we thank you that we live in this great country, that we live in this great city. Lord, that we have elected officials that serve us well. And Lord, we just pray that you will bless this meeting today. Father, I pray that we would all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Lord, there's a lot of issues on the table, and I pray that level heads would prevail and we would get to the heart of the matter and your will would be done. Father, we pray again that you would touch this meeting, touch your people, and just bless this community. For your name's sake, I pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was outstanding. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hill.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kitchen. Here. Councilmember Dodd.
Here.
Councilmember Iovino.
Here.
Councilmember McPartland.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Council. Under agenda modifications, I would like to ask that since we have so many people here that want to speak this evening, and we want to get as many people up here to talk, I will make a motion that we limit the public input to 3 minutes per person on items.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just clarify something. That wouldn't be an agenda modification. It would be a meeting rule procedure change. So there's a difference as to how it's done. So
well, thank you for that clarification. Would this be an appropriate time to go ahead and make this announcement, or should we wait?
No, I would go forward on.
All right, very good. So, Council, I'll make a motion to reduce the time limit to 3 minutes per person and close public input at 9 p.m. on items 9A and 9B. I understand.
All right.
Second. All right, motion
Right,
second.
I guess also, Mr. Mayor, if they could stand in line as opposed to waiting and trying to.
Right. I'll deal. Yes, I'll deal with that. I'm gonna talk about the decorum and such when we get there. Thank you for that, though. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you for that. All right. Okay. Well, we need to have it very quiet out there so everyone can hear. Well, I apologize for that. We're going to continue on with this meeting. Please, no more disruptions from... Ma'am, please, no more disruptions. All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
are the hearing headphones still out there? How many do they have? Anybody who's having trouble might be in to help them.
Okay, if anyone's having difficulties hearing, we have some hearing devices that are available, and also we have the technology where I believe you can connect certain T-coil. What is it? T-coil. We have T-coil, so if you have hearing aids, you can connect to the T-coil that we have in here. All right, so we're going to proceed, and let me just start by saying this is a lot of people, and I'm very happy to see this lot of people here, but we have to run this meeting very professionally, and we have to be respectful of everyone in the meeting, so I'm going to ask that we have no outbursts. If you're having difficulty hearing, I understand. That's when you have a big crowd like that, sometimes to get the volume, it's quite difficult. If that's the case, please see a staff member at the back, and they'll try to assist you in that. Where the heck was I? All right, that leads us to item 6, proclamations, awards, and brief announcements. I have a few proclamations to give this evening. So this is the exciting part. Can you hear me at all? Okay, good. This is the exciting part of the evening. My first proclamation is going to be to Sydney Regard. And And this is the Treasure Coast Society Children of the American Revolution. Please come forward. Nice to see you. This is a proclamation for Constitution Week, September 17th through the 23rd, 2019. Whereas September 17, 2019 marks the 231st anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper accord to officially recognize this magnificent document, its memorial anniversary and patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. Whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating the week which September 17th falls as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Jim Hill, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sebastian, Florida, do hereby proclaim September 17 through 23, 2019 as Constitution Week in the city of Sebastian, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution held in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. There you go.
My name is Sydney Regard. I'm the president of the Treasure Coast Society of the Children of the American Revolution. I'm also the corresponding state secretary for the Florida CAR. Thank you for honoring our Constitution Week. We really appreciate this. We really appreciate the city supporting our organization.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Holly Hamilton. Patty Reeves. All right, Patty Reeves. From the Pelican Island chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. This is going to sound very similar, except I'll probably read it a little bit better. This is a proclamation for Constitution Week, which is September 17 through 23, 2019. Whereas September 17, 2019 marks the 231st anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper accord to officially recognize this magnificent document, its memorable anniversary, and the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating the week in which September 17 falls as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Jim Hill, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sebastian, Florida, do hereby proclaim September 17 through 23, 2019 as Constitution Week in the city of Sebastian, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution held in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through the guardians of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained.
Reeves. I am the Vice Regent of the newly formed Pelican Island chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution right here in Sebastian now. So if anybody's out there, any of you ladies that think you might be able to join, get in touch with us, please. We'd like to thank the city for their continued support of Constitution Week. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, yep, gotcha. Holly Hamilton. This is a proclamation for Inflammatory Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October 2019. Whereas inflammatory breast cancer, IBC, is a rare but very aggressive type of breast cancer in which the cancer cells block the lymph vessels in the skin and the breast. And whereas individuals with IBC may experience symptoms such as redness, swelling, shooting pain, persistent itching, and warmth, which may appear virtually overnight. And whereas IBC usually grows in nests or sheets and is rarely detected by mammograms, the treatment for IBC differs from other breast cancer treatments. Therefore, an experienced physician is essential. And whereas increasing public understanding of IBC is the first step toward fighting this devastating disease, and the Hunt for Hope Florida was established to raise funds for research grants, and the 7th annual Hunt for Hope Florida will be held on September 29th, 2019 here in Sebastian, Florida. Now, therefore, I, Jim Hill, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sebastian, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 2019 as Inflammatory Breast Cancer Awareness Month and urge all citizens to learn more about IBC.
Thank
you. I'll be quick. This is our 7th annual Hunt for Hope. It's going to be in Riverview Park in Sebastian, in our lovely park there on Sunday the 29th. Also, if anyone would like to support that, Derek with Mash Monkeys over there waving, he has a special shirt he did design that you can pre-order at his place, and the proceeds from that go to our hunt as well, which will 100% go to research. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you very much. Save the woman, not the booze. Do we have any brief announcements this evening?
We have one announcement. It's not on the agenda, but I want to mention it. It's the September 11th celebration down at ceremony down at Riverview Park at the Veterans Memorial at 8:35 a.m. to remember those that lost their lives on September 11th.
All right, thank you. Hopefully we'll see this many folks out there. That would be wonderful. Please, to the consent agenda, item 7. What's your pleasure, council?
Move approval. Second.
A motion second. Roll call, please.
Kitchen?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Motion
Council
carries.
item 8A, Natural Resource Board. We have 3 applicants for the unexpired regular member term to expire July 21st. Do we have any of the applicants in the room this evening?
There's one.
Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. Beg your pardon?
Not a fair night for her.
Mr. Mayor, I'm Kathy Brothers.
How you doing this evening?
I'm doing great.
Good. You got a full audience to listen to what you have to offer us. You wish to be on the Natural Resources Board. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm a retired banker and attorney from Nashville, Tennessee. I've lived in Sebastian now 2 years. Wanted to move here for a number of years, but finished my career to come down to this gorgeous area, enjoy the beautiful wildlife, the beautiful water, which has always been a main goal. I first visited the area back in the early 70s, so this has been a long time coming. I've had extensive experience on a variety of nonprofit boards, both through church and through the community, and look forward to getting more involved here.
That's great. Any questions from council members? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Anyone else? Are there any of the other candidates here? Yes. Please come forward, sir.
Yes, good evening.
How you doing?
Robert Betta, 119 Crawford Drive. Any questions?
No, we do have your application, and we appreciate it. Just didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about yourself. Normally, we don't have multiple people applying for, this is just one unexpired seat. We do have one alternate as well. So I just wanted to give you all an opportunity to say why you wanted to get on this board.
Oh, yeah. Just to be a public service in a forum that I really care about, you know, namely our waters, our lands, all our natural resources.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Council, what are your thoughts on the unexpired regular member term to expire 2021?
Mr. Mayor, I nominate Kathy Brothers.
I'll second that. Okay. Hearing no other nominations, Kathy Brothers, thank you very much. You are on the unexpired term to end 2021. Now we have an alternate.
Yeah, I'd like to, I move that we waive the advertising requirement to fill the alternate position, and that we appoint Robert Bedera, is I'm saying that correctly? Betta, okay, to that position.
I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you guys very much for your desire for service. We appreciate it and look forward to having you guys working with the city. This time it'll move us to item 9, a public hearing. And I'm going to just talk to the audience a little bit about how we do this because there's so many beautiful new faces in here that I haven't seen yet. There's going to be a 3-minute time limit on public input. All right, we're going to be very respectful. We have to be very respectful so that we're not encouraging people to get up or discouraging people to get up. So there's no applause, there's no jeering, there's no boos, there's no outbursts of any kind. Now this is simply me having to let you all know this at this time because I can't individually warn each person if there's an outburst. So I'm letting you know that if there is an outburst, I will have to ask that you be removed from this chamber. Cheering is understandable because I know that you guys are very passionate about this, but it really dissuades people from getting up. So please be respectful. No cheering, no jeering, and no outbursts of any kind. Because if it happens, you'll be asked to leave and be removed from the chambers. Okay. So being that's out of the way, when we do take public input, we're going to ask that you line up at the lectern, but we're only going to ask that you line up only to the gray at the back of the room. We cannot have the line going around the chairs. So each person is going to get their 3 minutes to speak, and then the next person is going to get to speak. And hopefully we can get to hear every single person in this room. That's our goal. We want to hear you. We want to hear what you have to say on this issue because it's very important to the city of Sebastian. So remember, no outbursts, no cheers, no jeers. Let's be respectful of everyone, and that includes while staff is presenting, while the applicant is presenting, and during the deliberations of council on this. We're going to take items A and B at the same time, so public input will be on items A and B of 9. So we'll record that as your comments on both items, okay? So we're only going to have public input one time through this process on both of these items. Public input will stop at 9 o'clock because we have to deliberate this as a council and make a determination as to how we want to proceed. All right? Anything further? Sounds good? All right, very good. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Mr. Stokes. Sir? No, sir.
Staff first.
Next outburst, you'll be removed. All right, Mr. Stokes.
Ordinance O-19-04, an ordinance of the City of Sebastian, Florida, providing for voluntary annexation for land consisting of 1,118 acres, more or less, located south of County Road 510 right-of-way, west of lands adjacent to the 74th Avenue right-of-way, north of 69th Street right-of-way, and east of 82nd Avenue right-of-way, providing for the extension of the corporate limits and boundaries thereof, providing for interim land use and zoning classifications, providing for Scrivener's errors, providing for conflict and severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Carlisle.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Fraser's here to give the staff report again. She's going to give the report that's going to reflect both the voluntary annexation application from Graves Brothers and the future land use. And just to be clear, we're not putting zoning in place, and Ms. Fraser's going to go over that. This is not authorizing development. This is authorizing for the future annexation and the future land use map.
Great. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council. Can you hear me out of this mic? Yes. Wonderful. I'm Lisa Fraser. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Sebastian. This evening, we are considering the petition for voluntary annexation and large-scale comprehensive plan future land use map amendment for the Graves Brothers property. Now, in a prior annexation, based on comments from the DOT and from the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, staff, prior to this application even being formally submitted to the city, staff met with the Community Development Director and the MPO Director of the county to discuss the long-range planning for the 510 corridor. At that time, we did not receive any type of comments that would have given the city pause in moving forward. Those recommendations for our consideration were included in the City Council's package back on the first reading on June 26th. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. So this evening, we are considering the property south of the city located at the intersection of County Road 510 and 82nd Avenue. The property contains 1,118 acres. Within that acreage, it also includes the Sebastian River Improvement District's right-of-ways. So when we're considering the annexation, it's 1,118 acres. However, for the future land use map amendment, it is only the 1,047 acres. I just wanted to clarify that for you, so you're very much aware. The future land use that is included within every municipality, every local government's plans, comprehensive plan, is a 20,000 level view of the local government's use of their land. It is the roadmap, if you will, that we need to establish based on state standards and state laws to meet the needs of our population. That population growth has to be met by certain standards set, again, by the state. Now, if you look at what's in front of you, hold on, I think I might have if I can, there we go. You see the existing, at least partial, map of the city's future land use, their development map, if you will. All of that yellow is single-family residential. The blue, the green, those are our parks, our conservation lands. There's very little other colors. And I want to bring that to your attention because those colors include the deficit that is established in our comp plan today. Our 2010 comp plan shows a deficit in multifamily, commercial, and institutional land uses. And that is what we are looking at today in the proposed land use before us. It shows a mixture of commercial and industrial land uses. It shows a nice mix of residential land uses, including multifamily. It shows the blue, which is all institutional land uses. So the blue squares will be set aside to meet any type of governmental needs required by the proposed development. This is not a development plan, this is a land use plan. There is a big difference. However, in the future, we may identify needs for a police substation, for another post office, for utilities. These are going to be set aside for those uses. Let me just make sure that I'm following my train of thought. We are about to embark on an update to our comprehensive plan. Our current comprehensive plan is utilizing population data projected out to 2025, which is right around the corner. In 2017 and 2018, we saw a population growth of 12% in this city. The state of Florida is experiencing unprecedented growth of 1,000 people per day, and the Treasure Coast has been identified as one of the fastest growing areas. We are going to experience population growth in the future, and our updated comprehensive plan will verify that, and it will be asking us to provide the land to serve that population. And that is why we are recommending this proposed future land use map to meet the needs of this community. Annexation south of the city has been discussed since 2004 with the county and all of the other local governments within Indian River County. This is not a new subject. This is not a new idea. In our 2010 comprehensive plan, the annexation reserve area for the city of Sebastian is clearly defined. The city of Sebastian is built out and is confined on the majority of its sides by the rivers. There's no other way to grow except south, and that was identified in 2004 and adopted in 2010. In fact, the city of Fellsmere also had their annexation reserves areas, except they acted on them. And in fact, as soon as 2014, they expanded their boundaries. What's interesting is that the county moved the urban service area boundaries with each of Fellsmere's annexations in order to serve them with sewer and water. The county future land use map shows that the county has planned additional single-family residential south of our city with really no plans to serve those residents, except for them coming into the city, which again, we have a deficit in those land uses in serving all of these residences that are planned. The county also has planned their priorities for their road improvements, opening up the grid south of us, making this type of change in land use very appropriate for that area. The county has already planned to put in almost 3,000 residential units along the 510 corridor that will definitely have an impact on our schools, on our roads. These residents will be utilizing our parks and coming into our city to meet their needs, and yet they are in the county and they will not be paying any taxes for these impacts to our facilities. Therefore, we feel it is appropriate to continue to look south in order to support the city's needs. The proposed plan that you see in front of you allows for us to meet the deficits of our 2010, it's an evaluation and appraisal report, but it's the comprehensive plan. What needs to be clarified is that densities and intensities that are shown in this future land use map are based on gross land area. The reality of planning is that the net acreage that will be allowed for development is about 70 to 80% due to all of the regulations that go on when you try and attempt to develop a piece of property. You have right-of-ways, you have stormwater, you have open space, you have setbacks, you have recreation. All of that is taken into consideration. So it reduces the gross amount of area that you really can develop. And so I have an example here of the residential gross land area that is proposed, and taking only 70%, we are really looking at closer to 2,200 units of residence. That's just an example of how that works for land use and development. We also did a quick calculation regarding open space. In our PUD zoning, the open space that is required for commercial, industrial, and residential, if you apply it to these gross land areas, you are looking at, plus the conservation, okay? Conservation land is not open space. Conservation land is conservation land protected in perpetuity. So when you add that all together, we're looking at over 500 acres will be set aside in open space and conservation. We wanted to keep with this comparison of the new town just to show there's not much difference, and to also emphasize to this council that if this piece of property does not come into the city, that doesn't guarantee it would be developed in the new town mode. It could also be separated into 40-acre tracts, and we'll have single-family homes on septic. That's the reality of that area of the county. Now, I realize no one can really read this, but I kept it in there on purpose. These conditions, A through J, are part of the ordinance and attached to the future land use map amendment. These conditions are also now transposed, reworded, embellished upon in the annexation agreement, What's interesting is these conditions, A through J, are very similar to the recommended conditions by the county back in March, and are really similar to all of the information that you have received from the various groups within the surrounding area and the city. I really wanted to emphasize that to you, that these are following the recommended considerations that you have in front of you, and I'm going to break them down a little bit. The first one requires rezoning of the property to be done through the City of Sebastian's planned unit development process. Again, we have 3 different zoning, help me, zonings for PUDs. We have PUD residential, PUD commercial, PUD industrial. The property cannot have straight zoning. This is our way of guaranteeing that it would be master planned so that it can meet the needs of our citizens. We are requiring future dedication of right-of-way in order to improve the grid road system, to promote an interconnected, extended, and improved system throughout the county. We, in conceptual plan itself, we are requiring a mix of housing types, a provision for a mixed-use town center, future allocation and donation of the institutional lands necessary for governmental services. We are requiring future dedication of conservation lands over and above the future land use that you see here, but for lands that in the future become noted as significantly important, and also provides the greenway trails to promote the system of connectivity and access. We have allocations for parks and recreational lands, and we have buffers. You know, the City of Sebastian has over 1,000 acres of conservation lands, and that's, again, over and above our 500 acres of parks. We are very committed to environmental conservation in the city, and as a condition of this future land use map and this annexation, this development will have to hook up to central potable water and wastewater systems in accordance with our land development code that's on the books today, and whether it gets serviced by the county or by an alternative method, that can be determined at the time of development. So, in closing, I am here to answer any questions that the council might have regarding the proposed annexation and the future land use map. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions at this time? All right, Mr. Carlisle, is that it for staff presentation? Did the applicant want to give a presentation?
Yes, the applicant is here and has a very brief presentation they would like to present.
Great, thank you.
So Mr. Bass, I believe, is going to do the presentation, the owner of the property. So proud. You know how to do it.
That's the right.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm Jeff Bass. I'm president and CEO of Grace Brothers Company, the applicant. I was born in Indian River County. I'm the 4th generation to run this family business. I follow my great-grandfather, my great-uncle, which are literally the Grace brothers, my grandfather, my uncle. It's truly a family business. This is Joe Schulke, he's our engineer, and he's also a 29-year resident of Sebastian. We don't have a big team, it's just us. We didn't hire a bunch of people, it's just us. I would like to give you a brief overview of our project now and reserve a little bit of time for afterwards to wrap up. So if you could save me a little bit of time before 9 o'clock, that'd be great. I'd like to start by clearing up a few misconceptions. One, your vote tonight is not for or against development. It's for who controls what happens on your southern borders. Second, this plan is consistent with the city's comp plan. It's well thought out. It was not a rush job. Third, regardless of what you may hear today or have heard in the community, protections for the lagoon will always be provided for. I want to repeat that again. Will always be provided for. And no living manatees, panthers, pelicans, or other wildlife will be harmed as a result of your support of staff's recommendation. In fact, we're doing our part now to protect the lagoon with the construction of an approximate 200-acre nutrient retention water farm, which we're going to do regardless of whether this project is successfully voted through or not, because we care about what happens there. Graves Brothers is not a developer and has no plans to develop this site. We are a local, multi-generational family business which started in 1895. I want you to let that sink in a little bit. My family has been here for 5 generations, and this property, which is known locally in the community as the farm, has been in my family and providing local benefits for more than 100 years. This map you're looking at actually came from my grandfather's book, and it's titled Graves Brothers Company, The First 100 Years, 1895 to 1995. And then I started thinking about that a bit, and we're almost a quarter century into our second century of existence. Our family's original holding are shown roughly in blue. You'll note the outline of Sebastian and the outline of our project. To our family, this property has always been part of the fabric of Sebastian. Many of you likely live on this land that our family once owned. We drained the land and harvested the timber, sold some land to survive the Depression and the hard times, then planted row crops and citrus, which thrived for years. We've been good stewards to this land for a long, long time. Row crops and citrus are no longer sustainable, but we want to hang on to the land, so we have to plan for the future. This next map. This map shows current-day Sebastian in the middle. As Lisa alluded to, you can see how dense it is. It's pretty much built out. The brown shaded areas surrounding it are the lands that are controlled by other entities or other municipalities, namely Sebastian and Indian River County. And since Sebastian is growing, it has a dilemma. How to accommodate for growth while maintaining a small town feel. The choice: redevelop inside your city boundaries by increasing densities, or expand beyond your borders. But there's nowhere to expand without the help from others. At least some directional help was provided in the form of roadway improvements of 510 and 82nd Avenue. You'll note on the yellow, as Joe was pointing out. These are projects that were put in or are contemplated to be put in by FDOT. We did not do this. I believe 82nd Avenue is going to be a 2-lane road, and it's going to extend all the way to 60. 510 is going to be a 4-lane road, and some places going to be a 6-lane road. So the county and FDOT have showed us where growth is going to go. The problem is Sebastian must depend on landowners or other municipalities to manage this area. This map shows in red what Indian River County has been doing on your border. It's the same map Lisa showed you. Indian River County is entitled approximately 3,000 residential units, and many were transferred from outside of the area. This is how Indian River County has responded to these growth demands. It looks a lot like South Florida congestion. We don't want this, and staff does not want this. But this is what you get when you are forced to plan on small tracts. Get heavy residential, little retail, less opportunity for open spaces, and less opportunity for proper protections for the lagoon. And Sebastian had absolutely no say in these projects. Next map, please. This is the same map on a little different scale. Because there's so little retail in this area, these residents are going to be forced to shop in the existing city's service areas, as indicated in the red arrows. Without a proper plan, our land could have this type of development. It's about the same size. It's about 1,200 acres. You could probably just turn it sideways and you could have the same thing on our land. But there's a better way. Another map. This map shows our project and where residents will go for shopping and other services. Again, by the arrows. Incidentally, those other 3,000 units would use these shopping areas as well. When the time comes for development in the next 8 to 15 years, I'm going to repeat that too. In the next 8 to 15 years, we're going to have to go through the PD process. Staff's recommended plan will provide for a town center, for office, and a variety of retail and recreational facilities, such as movie theaters, water features, and aquariums. Much of the traffic will be captured internally. Less dependence on your existing roads and shopping areas. And as shown by the areas, residents have the options for shopping and working without leaving the neighborhood. This is a bubble plan of our map. Again, you've seen it, Lisa just presented it. Staff's recommended plan is consistent with Sebastian's comp plan. We didn't just pull this out of thin air. No more congested cookie-cutter developments on this type of plan. There will be lots of details to be dealt with at the time of the development, 5, 10, even 15 years down the road. Remember, land uses do not trigger demand for services. The city has codes, ordinances, and excellent staff in place to ensure those details are dealt with properly, so that the adequate protections and intergovernment coordinations are in place well before the first building permit is ever issued. When the market is right, this plan will be designed with lots of open space and provides for lands for school sites, school and police stations, parks, rec sites, greenways, and protections for our natural resources. This plan is structured for communities to be built around parks, nature trails, and greenways. There will be intergovernment coordinations for services and options for residents to live, work, and play without burdening the existing infrastructure network. This type of improvement plan cannot be done with small tracts under multiple ownerships. In closing, a no vote or a vote to table will not stop growth and development, but it ensures that someone other than Sebastian oversees it on your southern border. And very likely, that would result in an increase in the burden on Sebastian's existing services. A yes vote to support your staff's recommendations puts Sebastian in control of its borders and helps preserve the small town feel of your existing downtown. Thank you. Joe, do you have anything to add?
I don't.
We'll be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Mr. Bass, I believe we'll just wait until after the public, and then we'll have you come up, and I'll have some questions for you, okay?
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, Mr. Mayor, it's the pleasure of the council how you'd like to move forward with the public hearing. I think that staff and the applicant has provided you with the information and has provided the residents and those with the information of how this process has taken place. And I think that there's a good plan before you. Again, this is a 30,000 level look at the land use. And so we can move it the council's direction.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to take input from the public. Please form a line, okay? And like I said, only form the line in the middle, all right? And make sure that you don't go into the back or around. So as the line starts to shorten, then more people can get in. All right, we want to make sure we hear everyone, so please be respectful. And we shall start, sir. You may start. And please make sure you guys tell us who you are and where you live. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Rene Boisvert. I live over at Brook Edge. Been here a resident for about 3 years. We love the area. We came from stuffy South Florida, and we love this area here. Also, I come before you as a representation of the citizens behind me that we put out that petition. And our petition wants you to basically to slow down, take a look at everything. We want you to have demand an independent study to assess the impact, all the impact, including taxes, what's that going to cost us. Let me tell you, South Florida, I hate to tell you what the taxes are down there right now. We come up here and it's a breath of fresh air. And when you're going to have something like this coming in, this is like a small city moving into a city. And you're going to have taxes to support all those services. So it is a big undertaking. We want you to consider that vote. But we really would like you to have some good studies on this whole thing and make sure you're making the right decision. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to address you. My name is Steve Saylor. I live in Pelican Point, just down the road. And my family has lived in Sebastian ever since it purchased the condo back in 1985. Except my mom and dad, who died recently, never referred to our city as Sebastian. Instead, they called it Paradise. As in, Steve, when are you going to come down and visit Paradise? Or son, when are you going to bring your wife, your children, and yourself down to Paradise? They will love it, I guarantee it. And my mom, in fact, kept telling everyone that she always thought that she'd have to wait a long time to be able to wake up and be in heaven. But now she was doing it every single morning. And even my two sons, both of whom are Marine combat vets, spent some of their R&R time in Paradise. But my friends here, who are more knowledgeable about this proposal than I, are concerned that if it is passed in its present form, my family will no longer be calling the city Paradise, that the more accurate name will be Paradise Lost. So I'd like to ask just two questions. Why would you hold a public hearing, a possible vote, on August 28th, when most likely one half of the concerned voters are away on summer vacation? And two, what assurances can you give to your constituents, the people who have elected you and you have pledged to faithfully serve, that this massive project, if passed as is, will not suffer the same serious problems of overcrowding, pollution, constant traffic jams, and reduction of services now facing our neighboring cities to the south that have pursued similar ventures? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Damian Gilliams, President of Sebastian Property Owners Association.
We can be reached at sebastianpropertyowners.com. Mr. Mayor, I want to first object to this hearing on the grounds that it's not a sufficient and capable hall due to the not enough seating, not enough audio, people are leaving, and it's disenfranchised. It's not fair. This should have been tabled, and you should have set up another area, such as the high school, where more and more people can come to these hearings and voice their concerns. I want to thank the CEO, Jeff Bass, for coming here and meeting with the community on short notice. However, I'm not going to get into the details. I'm going to leave that to the engineers. But it's about respect. I understand his family's been here over 100 years. That doesn't make him any better than any of us. We do have rights. We, as neighbors, just want respect. We want to be contacted by our city staff members who are qualified engineers, which we do not have. We want to be contacted by our land development attorney, which we do not have, that is board certified and understands annexation. And not just annexation, but land use codes. We understand what's going on here. It's important that staff reach out to the community, the homeowners associations, the Sebastian Friends the River, the Pelican Island. There's so many organizations that feel that they did not have a seat at this table. That's what we're upset about. We're upset that you did not reach out and call us for a public hearing and a few public hearings. Maybe we would not have shown up here tonight. Maybe they could have educated everybody in the community as to exactly what they're doing. The impression we get, August 28th, when nobody's here, business as usual. And it's not right. You need to show respect to your constituents. You're not doing that. There are many organizations that would like to have a seat at the table, as well as county and other cities. There's no annexation agreement that's been done. This thing is incomplete. It needs to be vented. There needs to be studies done. Once you sign the documents tonight and give them the okay to come in, and you give them the land use code and tell them, then it's about zoning, and then it's about planned unit development. This is a deal that's being shopped from government to government. We all know that. And the people need to know what's going on, and we're not getting a fair hearing. So, Mr. Bass, if you want to be a good neighbor in our community, we recommend that you go ahead and withdraw or table this to a date uncertain. Hear the community out, and maybe you will be welcome to this community, and you would respect everybody in the community like we respect you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bass.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Frank Casiglia, Sebastian River Landing, HOA President. This is my second meeting and the second time I've spoken. And the more I hear, the more disappointed I get. I hated the idea of Florida. I didn't even like the fact that it was part of the United States. I thought it should be chopped off and let it float out to sea like Cuba. But I only knew Melbourne and Orlando. Then I discovered Sebastian, and my whole attitude changed. It was exactly what we were looking for. Small town, but we can go to Vero, we can go down south, we can go to Melbourne for other things we want to do. We have 25,000 residents in Sebastian, supposedly the highest number in Indian River County. How are we improving it by increasing the residency by almost 30%? It's ridiculous. And I'm sitting there, I'm listening, and I have nothing against whoever it is that owns that property. God bless. They made a good deal. They bought it when they should have, and now it's worth a lot of money. But tossing money around is not the answer. I just read recently that I believe there's a one-time donation of, I think it's $3,700,000 to the city. Come on. At least Congress does it in the back rooms.
Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, sir. First of all, that is
Is this
incorrect.
coming off my time?
No, yes, it is taking up your time. I'm going to let you know that is an accusation that is not to be backed up, and then I will ask everyone else to hold and refrain from any noises. Thank you very much. You may continue.
Fine. All I know is bringing in 3,500 houses and movie theaters and restaurants, that's not enhancing our city. Your legacy is going to be one of two things. Either you destroyed paradise, as that gentleman once said before, or you saved it. As far as the county granting permission, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with the county commission. But we're with you right now, all right? We need you to support all of us. This is just a fraction, and I think you know it. It's just a fraction of the people. Step up. Do the right thing. Otherwise, we're going to have to change that fun sign that says, "Welcome to Sebastian," and alludes to the 6 grumpy people, which I like to consider myself one, and change it to a for sale sign.
Right,
Because that's what we're looking at.
Thank you.
And I'm begging you. I don't want another Orlando.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is John Cristino. I'm a resident of Southeast Sebastian about the last year. I came upon the city of Sebastian about 15 years ago. I traveled up and down A1A and the Florida shoreline. I was looking for something different from southern Florida. I owned a timeshare down on Singer Island. That was once beautiful. As you all know, that's been so heavily developed, they've destroyed it. I know the busy city lifestyle is fun for some people, for a week or two. But most of us that have relocated here enjoy this city for what it is. It's a peaceful place to come enjoy our parks, the quality of life, the friendliness of the people here. There's no price you could put on that. And I feel the annexation, the way it's planned, can potentially have a negative impact here on the quality of life for all the residents, regardless of how well thought out this has been done. We're being told that we're uninformed or misinformed, and the previous speaker made a point. We haven't gotten a lot of information. I heard about this June 28th. It's only 2 months in the summertime. Everyone I talk to in the town has no idea what's going on. What are they doing? That's the response. We need to reach out and have more public hearings on this. The voters, from what I understand, in 2004 here, rejected any more annexations. Am I incorrect?
There was something on the ballot.
All right, I was trying to research some of the history of the town. Mr. Schulke gave us some information, but it was more of a sales pitch. When we got a lot more information out of Mr. Bass tonight, thank you. 12 years ago, the city participated in the Land Acquisition Advisory Board with all of these mentioned people, the city of Fellsmere, county officials, Friends of the St. Sebastian River, and so on, in a spirit of cooperation for development. We're not seeing that cooperation today, and it's worrisome. Now, while the annexation of the land, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat, having control over the development.
Sir, you have about 10 seconds. So.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I see it as a good thing. We don't believe in the land use amendment. I firmly believe that an annexation agreement should be performed first.
All right, thank you very much,
thank
sir.
you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Hi.
We're all familiar with the timeless statement of wisdom, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. And yet, for some unknown reason...
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not taking up your time. I'll reset your time. We just need to know your name and where you live.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
Alyssa Boisvert.
Yes, ma'am.
And I live on Brook Edge Terrace here in Sebastian.
All right, I apologize for interrupting you. Please continue.
It's all right. Yet for some unknown reason, our city council seems to want to rush into this Graves Brothers property deal without much consideration. And I'd like to know why. We're still reeling from reading the papers and finding out that approximately $800,000 worth of sugar sand, which were assets to our city, were given away. I assume that that was done with all honorable intentions. However, you rushed in and we lost $800,000. We have all been treated to slick Hollywood-esque presentations of the marvelous futuresque city that is going to be put into our city. The ticket for admission to this vision of annexation is just annexation and the change in zoning. It's all unicorns and lollipops. As presented, there are no downsides. But as another timeless saying goes, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Much is at stake here. Our current population is a growing 25,000. With annexation, we'll grow to about 35,000. For a small city like Sebastian, that is a significant jump in population. Accordingly, we're going to require more schools. Who will pay for those schools? The city? That means the taxpayers. A bigger hospital. Who's going to pay for that? We cannot compel a private organization such as the Stewart Group to grow, nor do I think they have enough property to do so, even if they were so inclined. Will the city have to build its own hospital? And if so, is that with taxpayer money? I want to know. We'll need more ambulances because more people will need more ambulances. More people will mean that we will have to pay for them. Response time for ambulances, which is very important, especially in a community that has so many elderly people like Sebastian. With more traffic on the roads, we can expect longer response times. Will the response times being made longer result in what may be preventable deaths? I don't know. Do you? How about response time for firemen? With swelling traffic, can we expect an occasional home or business to burn to the ground or worse? I don't know. Do you?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
My 3 minutes is up?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Hello, Mark Mathis, City Manager, City of Fellsmere. I appreciate the opportunity to be here for you today. Speaking on behalf of the City of Fellsmere. I haven't had the opportunity to meet you all individually, but except for Linda, and it's nice to see you. First, I'd like to echo a couple comments of Mr. Bass, and that you do have a very highly qualified staff, and I do enjoy working with them. They've done their best job to present information to you today. I'd also like to echo Mr. Bass's statement. It's good to have a plan. It's good to move forward with the plan. However, I do have a few issues I'd like to bring to your attention. Some clarifications I'd like maybe after the public comment we can hear from staff. Recreation, asking for 2 units, 2 acres per 1,000 population plus 2 acres per 1,000 population. So I assume that means 4 acres per 1,000 population that we required by this development. I want to make sure that's not also attributed to the conservation area, that is a separate calculation. Also, I'd like to talk about transportation. I didn't see in the proposed annexation agreement any commitment of the developer or any requirement of the city to dedicate right-of-way along 2 of the major corridors, 510 and 82nd, which are critical, as was presented earlier. But I also want to thank the city and staff for putting some information in the annexation agreement about interchange contribution. I think that's very well forethought. We will need a new interchange at some point, both with the cities of Sebastian's expansions as well as the city of Fellsmere's expansion. So that was a well thought out contribution. But I'd also like to remind the city of Sebastian of the Fellsmere's annexations from some years back and how we got into a conflict resolution with Sebastian, ended up with a few conditions on City of Fellsmere properties that I do not see contributed here in this proposed. So I'm wondering if it's good for Fellsmere, should it not be good for Sebastian? So I'd remind you of the 2 units per acre that we were restricted to through your conflict resolution upon the city because of our annexations, the 10% recreation set aside, or 35% contribution of recreation monies, and the 35-foot height limits. So if indeed you decide to go forward with this annexation without these same conditions, we'd like to open a conversation with you about removing them from the city of Fellsmere. And finally, I'd like to remind you of the drainage concerns in this area. Mr. Bass is also a board member of the Sebastian River Improvement District, and the city of Fellsmere currently has a conflict resolution with that district because of drainage concerns. And hopefully that moves forward amicably and we can find a resolution. If not, I would hate to see the city of Sebastian brought into a conflict for no other reason than this annexation. And so I hope that we can encourage to resolve these issues as well. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Jonathan Rodeback. I'm an attorney at the City Attorney's Office for the City of Fellsmere. The purpose of me being here is there was correspondence that was sent to the City of Sebastian from Mark Mathis, who you just heard from, and also the City Attorney Warren Dill, outlining the respective parties' positions in the Chapter 164 process with, between the City of Fellsmere and the Sebastian River Improvement District. I checked the agenda. I didn't see it in your packet. If I could pass it up to council through Madam Clerk. We have it. You do have a copy of the letter and also the letter from Warren Dill as well. If you do, it just to apprise you of the situation. That way you can make an informed decision on whatever you guys decide tonight. And I'll be here. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have about the process. And thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. John Allen Norris, resident of Sebastian. I've owned land and been involved here since 1970, 49 years. You recall I spoke at the other meeting. I'm a civil West Point engineer. It's my learned opinion, sir, that this needs to be tabled. This area is part of the floodplain basin of the South Prong of the Sebastian River. I live on the river. I've walked through parts of this area during heavy rain. It's inundated with water. 3,000 homes in this area, and all this building will seriously impact the parts of the river in this city. Also, you know, I'm object generally to the extreme expansion of the city's residents, and I'm speaking on behalf of Jeff Norris, James Mayer, Jennifer Loretson, Haley at Ruby Tuesdays, and hundreds of homeowner and business owners that I've personally spoken to. The concept here needs to be like Boulder, Colorado, or parts of Stewart. That's limited the number of residential permits and the greenway system around Boulder. You have the opportunity now, sir, to, for example, take the Meckling property, if you so pass this one. You have sufficient funds to turn that back into the greenway concept that was proposed prior to this and accommodate parts of the greenway rather than this extreme overexpansion that we seem to be embarked on. You know I've spoken before, but thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor. I'm Joseph Paladin. I'm president of Black Swan Consulting. I've also been a builder and a developer here in this area for well over 20 years. Tonight, I'm speaking as a board member of the Indian River Neighborhood Association's advisory board. That's how I'm speaking tonight. Number one, I'm not here to speak to stop this annexation. I'm not here to dictate to Sebastian what they can and can't do. I'm here to tell you what our concerns are and what I think the problems are based on my professional experience. Keep these things in mind. It makes good sense for Graves Brothers to want to annex this property. It makes all the sense in the world. It makes good sense for the city of Sebastian to want to annex this property. I mean, what would you rather have, 1,100 acres outside the urban service line or 1,100 acres in the city limits of Sebastian? Come on, it makes common sense. Secondly, I understand the idea that if it's inside the city limits of Sebastian, you all think that the county is basically required to run water and sewer, utilities, basically. And basically, it's sort of what it says. But somebody's got to pay for that. And also, you got to make sure that you have the capacity in the county to do that. Now, I've been a part of developments here for several years. We've been paying ERU fees for 10 years. We paid impact fees 10 years ago. We have that money invested, so we're guaranteed capacity. None of that's been done. Keep these things in mind going forward. Capacity, density, intensity, comp plan amendment, level of service, all these things have to be considered and met when going forward with an intelligent plan. Now, if you had an annexation agreement that resembled the annexation agreement that Corrigan Ranch did with Fellsmere, and all those things were spelled out, I might not be opposing this so harshly. But those things don't exist in what little we saw of the annexation agreement we saw 3 days ago. I just don't see it. Those things aren't addressed. Open space, density, it's not spelled out. It's not clear. You need to negotiate these things before the annexation, not after the annexation. After the annexation, you lose half your leverage. They need to be discussed now. But you need to take these things into consideration. You need to work with the county. You need to realize your county, you need utilities from the county. You have to make a deal with the county. You have to work with the county. And that's plain and simple. I mean, back when Fellsmere did their annexation, I worked for the RNA then. And, you know, Jason Noonamaker was city manager there, and he was a very clever, smart man. I respect him a lot. When he couldn't get water from the county, he went out the back door, went to the city of Palm Bay, brought it down Babcock, he got his water. You don't have that option. That option is not on your card level. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for letting me speaking. I'll be here the rest of the night if anybody wants to question anything I said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Joanne McGrath. I live at 7945 134th Street. This is my second time in front of you guys, and the only thing that I would request is to keep an open mind and really listen to each of us, because we speak. Each person who comes up here has a heartfelt concern about this situation. So, this is what I would like to share. Our community rejects the possible annexation of the Graves Brothers' 1,100-plus acres into the city of Sebastian. We feel this project would be disastrous to our community, as well as negatively affecting our surrounding communities. The county has assessed this land and stated that annexation would be an attempt to seek greater development density and/or less stringent rules than those permitted under traditional agricultural land use entitlements. That's pretty darn scary, okay? It's very distressing, as our understanding is that it's going to be 3,699 residential lots, 252 acres of industrial and commercial, which equates to 9,250 new residents. I checked our actual amount of people that live here, 19 Sebastian residents. That's of 2018, and 2017, it was 25,174. So whoever spoke earlier said that it's a boom. It's not a boom. It's only 500 difference between 2 years. Okay, so that's number one that we're concerned about. So visualize 9,250 new residents coming out of 82nd Avenue on their way to go to work. The impact is going to be on 82nd Avenue. It's going to be on areas in Sebastian routes, north and south. It's going to affect Barber Street and Laconia. This is going to be a major traffic jam problem. So what we're asking you guys is to slow this process down. What does that mean? That means do more research. Money, city manager likes the money, you know, getting the money into our city. But you know what? If it's not going to support every single resident here and wildlife, then it's not going to be, it's going to be disastrous. And I fear that, and everybody here sitting here fears that this will be disastrous. So this is what we want.
Ma'am, you have about 10 seconds.
Okay, what we want is this. We want to protect our lagoon. We want to protect our water quality, our wildlife. We ask all of you to work directly with the county, with Water Coalition.
Thank you, ma'am.
Public, Pelican Island, and the other.
Thank you very much.
Please be open about
Thank
this
you.
and delay the annexation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Hill, Council, Richard Gilmore from Sebastian. If I could oppose this and have it not happen ever, I would oppose it. Nobody wants South Florida conditions here. We all, and that's why this room is packed, but I've read the information. And you know what? Here's the bottom line. If you don't annex it, it's still going to get built. What Mr. Bass said at the end is absolutely true. All you have to do is look at Liberty Park. That's outside the urban service boundary, and who approved that? The county, okay? I don't know how many hundreds of people are going to be moving in there eventually, but are we going to receive any tax money? No. Are those people going to use our services, our beaches, our yacht basin, our place where we put in our boats? They sure are, right? Yeah. So if you don't approve that, guess what? It might take an extra year, it might take an extra 2 years, it might take an extra 5 years, but make no mistake, all it takes is 3 votes from the county, and that will be approved, and they'll have a plan going in there that we have nothing to say about, and we'll get no taxes from it. They'll still use our services, they'll still use our beaches, they'll still come in here, and they will put their boats at our boat ramps. And how many taxes will we receive for that? Nothing. So that's the bottom line. So because of that, and because I read it, and it looks like a good plan, I'm in favor of it. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
How you doing? Jonas Greer, resident, City of Sebastian. I'm a third generation Indian River County resident. Grandparents moved here, citrus industry, right? Grew up with an orange tree and a grapefruit tree in my meemaw's backyard. I love citrus. I love what this county is about. I miss it. I moved away in '96 to Nashville. Dad took a job offer, went with him. Brought some friends when I came home. Check out this cool little town I live in. Hit State Route 60, didn't know where I was until I got to the 17th Street Bridge. Completely overpopulated. Long story short, I moved to the city of Sebastian 2 years ago because I trust the leadership here. I trust you guys are going to make the right decision. I'm not going to tell you what that decision is. I will tell you that as a resident, it's hard. I'm a working class, right? It's hard working class. You know, I've serviced this community. I was a business partner in the city of Sebastian, as well as working countless service jobs. I understand it's a retirement community, but it's not a retirement city, right? There are people that live in this city that support those things. I'm not going to throw shade. We're not going to get into that game. But to enjoy a retirement environment, there is a population that has to support that. And we deserve the right to live in the city. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Mandel. I live on Carnival Terrace in Sebastian. And the proposed annexation, which seems to be going to equal a population explosion of 9,000 plus people, I feel will impact Sebastian in many ways. The impact on infrastructure has been discussed. I'd like to talk about the impact on the environment, which has also been discussed, but it's very important. I don't feel it can be overstated. Much of the land in this proposed annexation lies along the south prong of the St. Sebastian River and is considered a watershed for that river. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that multitudes of birds, river otters, foxes, tortoises, and perhaps even a Florida panther now call this home. These animals will be stripped of their habitat and most likely will die. Why would we ever consider placing our natural resources in jeopardy? The proposed annexation also stipulates that 43 acres be put aside for open space and conservation. I feel this is a bit of an insult to our intelligence, and it just seems like it's not enough. In other scenarios, the recommended amount of acreage to be placed in protected category would be about 50%. The small town charm of Sebastian also appears to be on the chopping block. I've been a resident of Sebastian for 33 years, and like many others, did not choose to move to South Florida for obvious reasons. Sadly, this annexation will change our small town atmosphere dramatically, moving us in the direction of the larger cities to the south. And to be honest, I think many of us are pretty happy when our winter residents return home for the summer months and our town becomes a bit quieter and more mellow. With this annexation, Sebastian will be exceedingly busy on a year-round basis, with much more so than we ever experience currently in our winter months. I recently visited the City of Sebastian website and read the bios of all of our city council members. I was very impressed with these bios and would like to quote some of what our council members stated about Sebastian, why they were living here, and what their intentions are as members of our city council.
You have about 20 seconds.
One member's bio stated that he enjoys the family-oriented atmosphere of Sebastian as well as the activities on the beautiful riverfront. Another stated, I want to help Sebastian grow in the right direction. It's a great place to work and live, and I hope we can keep it as beautiful and peaceful as it is now. Another member said it was a fantastic place to live.
Ma'am, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, I'm Jason Brown, Indian River County Administrator. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I have a tremendous respect for what you guys do and what your staff does. We're in the same business, and I thank you for your service. So first of all, I'd like to thank city staff for working to develop an annexation agreement. We think this is a positive change. The requirement for the owner to participate in a PUD process is helpful, and we thank you for that change. County staff would like to see additional significant items addressed in the annexation agreement, though. I've sent those specifically to the city manager earlier today. Don't know if they will be added in or not. Haven't heard back on that, but I appreciate him meeting with me yesterday. We have heard from city staff that a lot of our concerns are going to be addressed through the PUD process or a future comp plan change. I say the time to memorialize these main points is now in the annexation agreement. The city has something that the landowner wants, which is to become a part of the city of Sebastian. That is something of value. If there is resistance to include some of these simple points in an annexation agreement now, there's little reason to believe that there will be more cooperation later. Staff mentioned before that the county's concerns were addressed. Some of the items have been addressed, but I disagree that they have all been addressed. We have significant items that we want to have addressed. Some main points. The annexation agreement states that the owner can seek alternatives to county for water and sewer services. This is in violation of the interlocal agreement between the city and the county, so I feel I need to point that out. We think that needs to be changed. I want to be clear, the county's not saying that we cannot or will not provide water or wastewater services. We have certain issues that we would like to see addressed prior to the annexation. I believe we need to work collaboratively to plan to provide such services. That has not happened so far. I believe it will take some time to work out these details. The county continues to have concerns about the impact of traffic from this development on County Road 510. As you know, the only connection to the property from the north or the west is around 510 and to 82nd Avenue. This will put tremendous load on County Road 510. It should be noted that the state is working on widening that. The first segment of the widening, which is $11 million of right-of-way and $50 million of construction, is not funded in the DOT's 5-year work program. I anticipate it to be a good 10 years before all of 510 is widened. This leads to some of our density concerns. The stated density is 3.3 units per acre, which is a very high density for Indian River County. I doubt you can find an 1,100-acre segment of the city of Sebastian that has that density. I am quite certain you can't find it in the unincorporated area. It's not in any of those units that were talked about. The density...
So you got about 10 seconds.
The county would like to see density limits. For example, Liberty Park's 1.56. In summary, we're asking you to slow this process down so that we can get this right. We are all, Sebastian is Indian River County, we are you. This is not us versus them. We want to work together on a collaborative basis.
Mr. Mayor, can I have like to, if I can, ask a question of the speaker?
Very briefly, I don't want to engage during this time.
I just heard you say for the first time that the county is not saying that they will not provide water and sewer to this area. Did I hear you say that?
Yes, it's not for the first time, I will submit.
Okay, well, it's actually the first time because every newspaper article I've read has been adamant about the fact that the county staff has said they will not do that.
If you look at the letter I sent to the city manager August 8th, it says that in there. I said that at your P&Z meeting on August 15th. I'd be happy to provide the information. I've said that over and over again.
So the county is willing to negotiate on water and sewer?
We need to work with you, work out the details. This is a significant amount of services to provide.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming up. Yes, sir. And council, I would ask that we not engage in questioning during public input because there's just too many people that want to speak tonight. Okay, yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Paul Fafeta. I'm president of the Clean Water Coalition of Indian River County and basically a lifelong resident of this county. Back in the 70s, my folks owned property over in Indian River, what's known as the Tiki Hut now. That used to be called the Indian River Marina, so very well aware of this area. City council members, please look out in the eyes of your concerned citizens here tonight and make wise decisions with your hearts and not your egos. Listen to what's being said. On August the 8th this year, we sent a letter to each of you. I don't know if you've got it, if you've seen it, and I'm going to quote from some of it right now. Together with the Audubon Society, we sent out a 7 to 8 page document with our concerns about the annexation. Let me remind you the bullet point that I'm going to speak about is number 6. And with respect to the bigger water quality issue, we ask, why are communities along the 156-mile Indian River Lagoon spending millions of dollars each year to restore the lagoon, only to have this lagoon restoration countered by new potential pollution sources from this and other large-scale residential developments along the St. Sebastian and Indian River Lagoon watersheds? A portion of the property in question is a site of a proposed dispersed water management. You heard Mr. Bass talk about that, being awarded by the St. Johns River Water Management Area, approximately 200 acres. That hasn't been mentioned by the city. This multi-year project will result in millions of dollars for the landowner because of the nexus between their property and the need for clean water flowing into the south prong of the Sebastian River. Graves Brothers property is a vital location in the basin for the needed restoration to ensure clean water for the Sebastian River and eventually the Indian River Lagoon. The city of Sebastian should not allow large-scale development to occur without strong regulations to ensure resources for protection. The county's Newtown regulation would require this project to provide over 390 acres as open space in the form of a green belt or large blocks of open space. That open space could be used for agriculture, passive recreation, water supply, and stormwater treatment areas. The city of Sebastian should require similar open space requirements, especially given the dispersed water management project on the site.
10 seconds.
That's it?
That's it. Wrap it up. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sal Neglia, Sebastian. I have a few issues. I'm sure a lot of us have. You should think about the 1,047 acres, which eliminates 3,699 units, possibility of 9,030 people. Think of how this will affect our quality of life. We will need more boat ramps, more parking for boat trailers. As it is now, we park on US 1 and the side streets. The St. Johns River Water Management won't allow any more boat ramps along Indian River Drive. Think of how many more school children this will create. Think of the amount of school buses will be needed. Think of how many more cars it will generate. Think of the exhaust from the cars. We don't have enough schools. Do we want to go back to the trailer classrooms as we had once before? You all say you're concerned about what will be like in our future 5 to 10 years. Think of how crowded it will be then, and our beautiful city will not be anymore. Think of the other annexation you all approved. Think of the amount of these homes, those homes, and these homes that you're going to try and annex now. Think of how many more cars that will be traveling along our roadways. Think of all the road repairs. Think of all the city workers we will have to hire. Think of the extra police we will need, ambulance, fire, maybe even a new firehouse. Think of the responses that these ambulances and police may need to do. We like to keep it that way. Our city is low in crime, and I'm so proud of it for that, and we like to keep it that way. I also understand that the county does not have the capacity for water and sewage, so that means more septics. This would be some heck of a way to keep our river clean. If, as you say, you won't put in septics and the county cannot provide water for sewage, how do you propose to have the homes built? I hope the answer is no annexation. And I am sure that those of you who are running to be reelected, the river will be one of your biggest topics. So guys, please try to listen to all of us folks that we can't use this annexation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Dale Simchek, 766 South Easy Street, and as a former Toastmasters, I'll be making sure I keep this to my 3 minutes. Know that all of you are in a difficult position. I sat on City Council during an annexation of Shady Rest. I am concerned and asking that you postpone. I know that Mr. Bass mentioned it. I know Joe Schulke, and he builds a good project. That's not in question. Who is up there representing the people of Sebastian? Who is looking out for us? There is a call to postpone and get more information. You are the liaison. The city manager is doing what he can to bring in some funds. That would be what I would do. But you need to vet this through your community. You need to make sure. I've heard the county call for postponement. I've talked to many people. I've heard many people tonight. As someone who sat on City Council on the Metropolitan Planning Organization, I can tell you that this project will bring in 36,000 trips for the ITP has confirmed that. That's the Institute of Traffic Engineers. 36,000 trips on our roads that you will be told can be absorbed by our network, not just 510 or 512. When I was on City Council, the number 2 congested area was Schumann and Barber Street, and that was over 10 years ago. When you go to work on 66 and all on a 510, you will see that we have problems with traffic. What your community is asking is that you vet this. If you live on Barber Street, if you live on Laconia, if you live on Shakespeare, if you live anywhere in in that area, you're going to feel this for traffic. People will talk to you about other environmental issues, and that's of a concern. But what I'm asking everybody after me is to use one word: postpone. If you care for us, if you are part of bringing the community in an acceptance, if you're part of working it out with the county. The Fellsmere planner spoke. I was part of the group, the council, that sued my neighbor. We were horrible council members to look out for the city of Sebastian, to receive funds to improve parks and recreation. But we did, and he mentioned it tonight, and we did, and at the time we took heat. But we were looking out for Sebastian, and I ask that you, all of you, postpone until you work together, and it may be a good project, but the planner said the alternative is 40 acres. Well, one household generates 10 trips per day. If you have 40 acres for one household, that's 10 trips for one household. Now imagine how much that's going to expand if you keep it as planned. Please work for a better plan, or at least work through this plan for better outcomes and to have things in place. That's all we ask, and I hope everybody says postpone after me.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Carter Taylor, and I'm a director of the Clean Water Coalition. May I approach the dais with copies of...
No, sir. You may hand it to the staff. Thank you.
It would make our discussion go a lot better. I prepared a presentation, but unfortunately the public will not be able to be involved in the presentation because I've been barred from the use of your projector, which is right here, because of the rule number R15-10, which provides that I must submit my materials 1 week in advance when the agenda only comes out 2 days in advance, thus making it very difficult for any member of the public to address an agenda item.
Sir, you're taking up your own time here.
Oh, yes,
ladies
I
and
know.
gentlemen,
That's a very important
ladies and
point that I
gentlemen,
wanted to
sir. No,
business at
stop,
hand.
please. Listen, everyone. This is a very important meeting, and we want to hear everyone. So now you're wasting someone's time by outbursts. So let's try to refrain because we want to hear everyone, okay?
I'm
yes,
sorry, sir, that you consider it an
Go ahead.
outburst. I consider it something that
Go ahead,
perhaps
sir.
ought to be examined. The business at hand. I'm an expert in geospatial analysis. I've done work for the largest financial institutions in the country and have provided the winning hand in several landmark administrative rulings, investigations, and cases, including one that ended up in the United States Supreme Court that decided once and for all to end racial gerrymandering by state legislatures. In examining your proposed annexation plan, it appears that you are shoestringing the annexation to get around the fact that, one, continuity of the area annexed from Graves after this annexation would be complete. The contiguous area would be only 1.2% of the total periphery that has been annexed. And in consideration of Graves' stated plans, which were stated in writings provided by the city, Graves plans to annex additional property to the city in conjunction with some of their neighbors with whom they're presently negotiating by their own admission, that only 0.7% of the total periphery of the annexed area would be contiguous to the city. Such an amount, 0.7%, just to give the public an idea, is that the connection between the city and this proposed annexation represents a length of 0.08 miles in a total annexation periphery of 11 miles. That's 0.7%. This has been tried before, and it was litigated in the case of Volusia County versus the city of Deltona, where the contiguous area is 1.6%, substantially more than what you have, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, if I were in the city's position, I would take a very careful look at whether you're meeting state law in connection with that, and whether or not you've constructed a series of transactions or a series of annexations that attempt to circumvent the Newtown principles that will be in effect under your new comp plan.
Thank you, sir.
In order to get double the density that you will get if this were done later.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
The new comp plan.
Yes, sir.
Charles Morty, 438 Georgia Boulevard. You received a non-vote from the Planning and Zoning Board on this annexation for the comp plan. We received our packet 3 days, 4 days prior to our meeting. Not substantial time to review it with all of the data that was presented. Ms. Frazier, in her presentation to the Zoning Board, stated twice she's not an engineer. Who reviewed these plans, the engineering, the financial statements for the city? Did we have legal representation to review this? Who is looking out for us, the city? As of now, we don't have a city engineer. Who did the checks and balance on what Graves submitted? Were there checks and balances? These are questions that have to be answered. Our presentation was based on what was submitted by Graves Brothers. We need someone else to review this, to look at it, to say whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. All I'm asking you to do is stop, listen to what the county is saying, listen to what the other organizations are saying, put this on hold, get your ducks in a row, and then look at it. Please, represent the people of Sebastian, not the developers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir.
Good evening. My name is Dylan Reingold. I'm the county attorney. I just want the record clear. I've provided some documents both to your clerk and to your counsel. First, I'd like just, so after I've moved those documents into the record, I just want to make sure that it's clear that I specifically object to the fact that one person who spoke tonight was permitted 11 minutes to speak, while everyone else was provided only with 3 minutes to speak. Additionally, basically, I want to focus my comments tonight. Basically, it's clear from the evidence of the correspondence that I've developed and found from your staff, and I do appreciate their assistance, is that basically for the last year and a half or longer, the applicant has been coordinating a process by which it is attempting to shoehorn in 1,100 acres through 436 feet. Specifically, I'd like to note that the emails begin in January talking about let's meet, let's talk about future annexations. There's comments from the DOE and from DOT which address the concern with the 67-acre parcel and the necessity for planning for futures. For the future, I will note specifically the email that Lisa had referenced earlier today in which she stated, we believe that future requests, and she was referring to annexations, may face resistance from commenting agencies and the DEO due to a lack of long-range planning analysis. So why is this important? Basically, as Mr. Carter was just talking about, you've got 1,100-acre annexation that does not meet the statutory requirements of Chapter 171. What's been contemplated by the applicant all along is to shoehorn in the 1,100 acres to the annexation, which was done a year ago. And I will quote from the Volusia County case, quote, trying to shoestring annexation by using a narrow corridor to connect the municipality to an outlying non-contiguous area. And thus, like that case, I believe this annexation is illegal. And second, the county appreciates, as Jason Brown said, considering the annexation agreement. However, it violates our interlocal agreement with the city. I will specifically note section 6.06 and 6.07 of the ILA and 6.05 of the ILA. Basically what's happening is that in violation of the ILA, the Graves brothers are now becoming third-party beneficiaries of agreement in direct contravention of that interlocal agreement, and specifically trying to get around the policy of the county in which a developer has to pay for future improvements and future utilities for their own development. I will note that the utilities portion also does not address reuse water, and in fact, it actually asks that the infrastructure for utilities be provided to city standards, regardless of the fact that it's actually going to be county utilities. So this is the result, I believe, of rushing this matter, and thus, as prior council member said, we need to postpone this. So it appears, based upon the issues I've presented, we may be going down the path of having a 164 conflict resolution process.
Thank you, sir. In an effort to not allow anyone to make a mistake and allow extra time, I appreciate your coming tonight. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Mina, and I live in Sebastian. So I can't believe, I think this is like so bizarre. All of us up here, or most of us here, are really opposing this and afraid and all upset and everything, and I can't believe it's such a bizarre thing that I'm here to speak about it. I can't understand how this even got this far, but being that what it may, some of us think this is being shoved down our throat, and I don't mean to be rude, but that is how we feel. And I know it's not intentional, but it's emotional. So we feel like that. And it's being shoved down our throat. But last week we had the strong arm marketing. This week we had the aw shucks marketing. And so, but that doesn't change the facts of the things that were against it. So is it out of question to have a referendum in the town? Yes or no? I mean, I don't know the legal issues, but that's just, I'm posing that as probably a fair way for everyone to say yes or no for what we want. So you're our town council, so we all respect you as representing our wishes, you know, and I like American justice, and I trust in that. So, but can you imagine 8,000 people at Wabasso Beach on a Sunday? I mean, won't that be cute? You know, it's a big threat to us who are not attorneys, and I can't speak legal issues, so I can just speak as uninformed, crazy northern person. So, but But do you know what a green desert is? A green desert is a lawn. It's called a green desert in ecology. That means the habitat has been completely stripped. Grass is not native here, and nothing except cinch bugs can live in a lawn. So now there's going to be 3,100 green deserts. All of a sudden, you can't fix that. You can't fix it. Once they're gone, then the habitat is stripped. It's gone. Like when the builders build new houses here, strip it naked, take away every single tree, and put grass, another habitat gone. So that's a concern too. So I wanted to say that, and most of us came here, I think, and I did too, because we thought Sebastian was built out. And we knew there was spot building, but there was grants and things all around. So we said, oh, good, it's going to stay like this. So we came here, but that's not true. So I don't see how it can be considered by anyone to pull that rug out from under us, because that's what this is. It's pulling the rug of a small town out from under all of us. After we came here and put all of our assets, those of us who moved here, into this town with the faith that it was what it was, then I feel like the rug is being pulled out and the town isn't going to be. So my whole lifetime savings and everything are on, we're put in a place that's not the right place.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I'm not going to move. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much. All right. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. Good evening. Tim Glover. I'm president of Friends of St. Sebastian River. This is a hugely consequential decision you've been asked to make. And I don't recall an issue like this that has had such broad interest throughout the communities, throughout the residents, throughout the municipalities, the county staff, utilities, you name it. I think we all pretty well have an idea of the problems or understand the fact that the waters around our area consider impaired. The St. Sebastian River, Indian River Lagoon, just within the last few months, there was actually a tourist who died because he got some water on him from the Indian River Lagoon. This is not normal. I don't know when we came to accept it as normal. At the P&Z meeting a few weeks ago, Mr. Schulke referred to the letter that we submitted, and he said, don't worry, all of the things that we suggested had already been addressed. I'm not an engineer, but I have not seen evidence of the conservation of the south prong of the St. Sebastian River that we promoted in that letter. The only thing that I can tell is that they've shown conservation along the south prong of the St. Sebastian River in what is the Sebastian River Water Improvement District's right-of-way, which is not developable anyway. And it's basically a straight line through there, and it has no consequence of what the habitat is. So I think you folks have the ability and the responsibility to consider not only our concerns, but all of the concerns of the community, and I hope you do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Victor. I live on Ash Street. Give a little background on myself. I was born in Vero Beach in 1980. I grew up here in Sebastian all my life. I'm a fourth-generation person here. My grandfather used to own the south side of the Sebastian Inlet. That's where my mother, my aunts and uncles all grew up. My wife has a business here in Sebastian. I'm in the process of starting my own business here as well. I say all that to let you know that my family is very well invested into this town. We love the fact that it is a small town. I have family members who are still commercial fishermen in this town and have been for over 30 years. My biggest heartbreak that I hear is people that come into here, and I see it on social media all the time, talking about how they moved here 20, 30 years ago, and they don't want to see our small town grow, when they themselves are part of that problem. I understand that we have to grow, and everything will continue to grow. But my request, as many others have requested, is that it would be slowed down and looked at. Most of the property here in Sebastian are 1/3 acre lots. From my understanding, most of the lots that are proposed in this new development area will also be 1/3 acre lots. And the biggest complaint that I have seen out of everybody is the amount of population that is going to come in. My request is, let's step back and take a look at and propose that it would be in writing prior to the annexation being able to come through, that the properties cannot be just limited to 1/3, but that they should be expanded to at least half-acre or 1-acre lots. This would help in bringing down the amount of population that is brought in, but it will still also be able to make room for the growth that we need, that will come. I was very pleased to hear that there is room there for commercial and industrial areas, for parks, for buffers. I think those are very well needed areas as well. That will also help in cutting down in some of the extra population, as many people have complained about and have been worried about. I want to thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
My name is Ted Beck, and I'm from Micco, and I made this 3-minute video.
138 years ago, Paul Kregel, a German immigrant, settled in what is now Sebastian. Pelican Island was then 5 acres of mangrove, where
Excuse me, stop the video, and I'm going to stop your time. This is not a time for presentations or propaganda videos or any of those things. I've seen the video, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm just going to tell you, you have 3 minutes to speak at this.
That's a 3-minute
This is not time, sir, you have,
3-minute video.
this is your public input. I will not allow the video to be played, so I'm going to give you 3 minutes.
I gave you a full week. I presented this, and you accepted it.
We can accept it, and we will put it into record, but that does not mean that it's going to be played at this meeting. Now I'm going to give you 3 minutes, starting now.
Let me tell you.
Starting now.
I have nothing else to say. I have everything. I've worked very hard on this video that I think everybody should see.
I saw it. It was very nice. It was very nice. Thank you, sir.
What about the rest of the people?
I'm sure many of them have seen it. I've seen it, and if you go on Facebook, you can take a look at it. So it's very nice. Thank you, sir.
You're a crook.
Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dan Lamson, and I'm speaking tonight as a board member of the Clean Water Coalition of Indian River County, and I have a statement to read into the record. Documents obtained through a Freedom of Information request to the City of Sebastian appear to show that over the last 2 years, the city has been quietly moving forward with annexation plans along CR 510 corridor without heeding advice from the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council to coordinate with the county on future land use development pattern rules. In a memo dated July 20th, 2018, reviewing the request for the almost 70-acre Graves Brothers annexation and the land use change north of CR 510, the Regional Planning Council said there are probably no adverse effects on regional resources due to its relatively small size. It continued, quote, however, the city and the county should collaborate to plan in advance for and manage the transition of the area along 82nd Avenue from primarily agricultural to other uses that respond to the changing transportation patterns being brought about by the roadway extensions and improvements. The regional planners were concerned that the city should avoid sprawling development patterns, preserving environmental quality, maintaining efficient service delivery, mitigating impacts from incompatible land uses, and providing predictability in the pattern of development. The Florida Department of Transportation also issued a stark warning to the city, stating that the city consider the degree which it will annex future properties and engage in planning activities to determine the extent to which the area can develop in order to assess the infrastructure needs of the development, including an appropriately spaced and connected roadway network. This will position the city to avoid negative consequences associated with urban sprawl and over-reliance on CR 510 and 82nd Avenue for mobility. FDOT described the location of the first annex property as within a large rural area with limited services and sparse roadway networks. City staff was concerned at the time the Regional Planning Council report was released that future requests may face resistance from commenting agencies and Department of Economic Opportunity due to a lack of long-term planning analysis. And yet, rather than work with the county on the long-range planning analysis for the lands around 510, the city engaged in deliberate action to piecemeal the annexation of properties into the city of Sebastian. The obtained documents show ongoing discussions between the city staff and representatives of the Graves Brothers contemplating multiple annexations for the large landowner south of the city's existing limits. These
10 seconds. 10 seconds.
I'm done?
Nope, you have 10 seconds.
Okay, well, I'll just put the rest in the record
Okay,
for
very
you,
good.
and I'll hand it to the clerk.
That's fine. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I know I'm going to speak quickly, and I apologize about that. My name is George Glenn Jr. I'm an attorney representing the Pelican Island Audubon Society, the Clean Water Coalition of Indian River County. Graham Cox, Sebastian resident. Donna Halloran, Sebastian resident. I'm speaking on behalf of these individuals and entities. Your Planning and Zoning Commission recently concluded correctly in refusing to find that this comp plan amendment was consistent with the city's comprehensive land use plan, because it is not. At that meeting, your staff informed the Planning and Zoning Commission that they were only considering the comp plan change and not the annexation itself. This was error. Your staff report stated that the annexation and land use proposal is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the city's comp plan parameters for annexation studies, and cited objective 1-2.10. That's 1-2.10. That objective states the need for the annexation studies for to promote planning for annexations to prevent urban sprawl and disjointed urban service delivery systems by providing an analysis of land use, traffic circulation, concurrency, drainage, and environmental protection. Your code section 54-1-2.4, that's 54-1-2.4, Planning and Zoning Commission, subsection D2B, says that the Planning and Zoning Commission shall, not may, might, or maybe, but shall keep the City Council and general public informed and advised as to the physical development of the city, undertake special studies relating to growth management and resource conservation, including but not limited to annexation. This annexation should have been brought first to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This annexation, or I should say these annexations, plural, as documented in numerous emails going back and forth between your staff and the applicant, runs afoul of Florida Statute Chapter 171. The annexations are a shoestring effort to annex multiple properties that do not comply with the statutory requirements that annexations be substantially contiguous and compact. The annexation map on page 54 of the agenda packet, as well as what was presented in the staff report, is not the same map that has been advertised in public notices. The annexation map on page 52 of the agenda packet, as well as numerous maps detailing the comprehensive land use change that was also presented at the staff report, shows a parcel on the northern boundary that is not included in the annexation that's been provided in the public notices. There's a parcel that is different, so the map does not comply with Florida Statute 171.044. That requirement, that statute says it's absolutely required that you accurately identify the lands to be annexed, and the corresponding legal description shall be provided at the City Hall. Your proposed map amendment is also inconsistent with Sebastian's comprehensive land use plan. Your staff report does not even address policy 1-1.2.2, agriculture for annexed lands, which states the city shall use agricultural land use classification for future annexations until such time urban growth is contiguous and agricultural activities are no longer economically sustainable. The consultant's report states that less than one-third of the surrounding land is utilized for agricultural purposes.
Thank you very much. I need to have you come and read my proclamations for me, because you did a really good job of getting all of that in.
I do want to say also that...
Sir, we're going to wrap it up. And I've got to be fair to everyone. Everyone, thank you very much, sir. Every single person here is going to be treated the same. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Audrey Rigby. I'm the president of the West Walbassett Progressive Civic Club. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you tonight and share some concerns that the West Walbassett Civic Club has with the City of Sebastian proposed annexation plans. We support many issues raised by the neighborhood association groups. Our primary concerns are the septic and water systems that's being proposed as part of the annexation plan in the development of 1,000 plus acres of the West Walbassett territory. I say that because my house is in West Walbassett, but we belong to the county. Although we welcome growth and economic development, this project is extremely close to our neighborhood. We will not support septic and pump well system within striking range of our community. As you may recall, several years ago, the citizens of the West Walbassett community put up a good fight with Indian River County commissioners for the installation of sewer systems in our community and clean drinking water to improve the quality of life in our community. At that point in time, the City of Sebastian was requesting funding for a sewer system also in the north part of the city. Based on the approval criteria established by the county, the city sewer received funding over the West Walbassett sewer project. We're currently working with the Indian River County to complete installation of sewer systems throughout the West Walbassett community. We have experienced firsthand the magnitude of damages a hurricane storm could cause to our community or with city septic tanks and well water. I reside in the West Walbassett community. I have health issues that can be traced back to contaminated drinking water. I will continue to work hard to ensure that our community drinking water is clean and that the sewer system is installed in our community and surrounding areas. Finally, we are requesting the legality of Grace Brothers' voluntary annexation of the West Walbassett community. Like I said before, Grace Brothers can sell whatever they want to sell, but we feel as a community the boundaries belong in the county. We are researching our West Walbassett minutes right now to determine actions that could cause this transaction to transpire and cause the boundaries to be changed. It is my understanding that during the time of the boundary changes, there was a state representative and a non-board member acting as the president of the West Walbassett Director. This action violates our bylaws. Additionally, the action appears to be a potential conflict of interest. And I'd like to ask a question before I leave. If this is approved, can then West Walbassett get a petition, sign it by all the people in the community, and can we also annex into Sebastian? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Andrea Bring. I live here in the city of Sebastian, and I am definitely thinking we should annex the property because we will do a better job at it than what the county will. And that gentleman just represented what the county did to them. They did cancel the Wabasso sewer line and put it in North County, but it's county. Sebastian is not in the sewer business. We could not even get the county to put the sewer down the street we wanted it to go down. We had to go up to the county, and I think a lot of people came out in our support to make sure that that sewer line went down Central Avenue on the other side of the cemetery so that more people can use it. And I also want to say hi to everybody watching on live stream. We have people out of state watching on live stream. Also, this is what I was trying to talk about at the committee meeting, not Parks and Rec, the other one, you know. But this is a septic system for a house. Each one puts out clean water to be used from the septic system. This is from the EPA website. Every part of the proposed annexation, depending on what it is, can meet EPA standards. And we can be mitigating the water sewer problem that is going to occur if we do it by sewer. This is a different way to do it. This is done in other states. My sister has been on the system for 20 years now because she backs up to a river, a little river. So she's been on the system for 20 years. I think this will help because it is to be used in places that have a high water table. They are for homes that the surface water is sensitive to the contaminants, and it takes regular maintenance. And by the way, I believe the regular maintenance of this system will be cheaper than what you would have to pay for sewer, because the sewer charge is equal to your water charge. And your water charge is on a tiered level. And so the amount of water you use, that's how much you're going to have to pay your sewer charge. This chemicals, and there is I don't know what the output is. Is my timer?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I am Louise Cottenberg. I live in the city of Sebastian. I have lived here for almost 26 years now. When I came to the city, it was 12,000 people, it was 6,000 people. So there's been a fair amount of growth since I've been here. I have to tell you that probably a bunch of folks in this room are part of that growth. I didn't object to any one of them coming here. I won't object to new neighbors either. You know, the one thing that makes all of us uncomfortable, regardless of where you came from or where you're going, is change. And yet, change is the one thing that we can count on for sure. What we're talking about tonight is really long-range planning. That's our job. That's your job. It's my job as part of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's what we look at. Every 10 years, as mandated by the state, we update our comp plan. We're going on the third one since I've been here. We have fallen short every single comp plan. We do not have enough housing for workforce affordability, and I think that's not going to change if we don't make some changes. We do not have enough land to afford us economic development of any significant amount. Although every year when the council has their planning meeting, they talk about doing something about economic development. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. We need to have land that can be used for these purposes. This is not a dark, insidious plan meant to take something away from the citizens of Sebastian. This is rather an opportunity to have some control over what happens. Somebody else will use that land, somebody else will develop that land. That land is not going away, and I can guarantee you they're not going to raise any oranges there anymore. This is our chance to have some control over what does happen, what does develop, how it's developed. This is our chance to help meet those goals that we really need to keep our city viable. It's nice to talk about a retirement community in a small town, but somebody has to pay the bills, and right now all of the bills rest on the back of the homeowners. We need to diversify. We need to have something here so that our young people will come back. And I'd just like to say that a small town is a wonderful thing, but a small town is an attitude. It's not a number.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Crystal Heights. I'm a Sebastian resident. My family has lived in the area for generations. My great-grandparents lived in Roseland since the 70s, and my great-grandfather even created the original River's Edge community signs that were on Roseland Road for many years and which are still proudly owned by my family. My father was a graduate from Vero Beach High School, and after his service for the U.S. Navy, based out of Mayport, Florida, my parents brought me here to view the area in preparation for relocation. I had the option between Vero Beach and Sebastian. I chose Sebastian because I love the quaintness and small-town feel. Although I was not the first graduating class of Sebastian River High School, I'm a proud graduate of the class of 2000. As a young person here, I had the entire world to choose from, yet I chose Sebastian. I've built my life, my family, and my career because of my true love and appreciation for this town. I want to give my son, who just started kindergarten this month, the opportunity to enjoy the life in town that I've been blessed to experience and grow up in. I fully understand that you cannot stop development. However, I ask that you at least postpone this and give our community the opportunity to be more informed and for all involved to be able to review all of the options, rather than make the decision tonight to increase our population by 37% and thereby change the course of our town forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
My name is Randy Old. I'm in 1510 Oak Harbor Boulevard, Vero Beach. I was on the City Council of Vero Beach, and I'm with the Clean Water Coalition. My concern is planning. The idea of an annexation is terrific. Annexations can be done very, very well. I think this one is too quick and too fast and too shallow in terms of looking at it. Planning is what I'm concerned about, and I think that you need to bring experts, county, other municipalities, regional, state people together to help you do a really good job with this, and also get the community. Come up with a plan, make it part of the annexation process, and have something you could be really proud of by including everybody in the process. I think that's what's the angst that's in the audience now, is they're not included. And so my message is plan, stop, wait. There's nothing on fire here. You're not, there's no gun to your head. You don't have to do this immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I think everybody's gone over that we haven't done any environmental studies and environmental engineering. The school zones that are going down 510 haven't really been discussed, I don't think. 36,000 more individual trips down that one road or two. The two communities that's already been approved haven't been broken ground yet and haven't been called into question to that traffic as well. The green zones that were planned by this community and setbacks aren't nearly enough. This is over 1,000 acres with 53 acres of wetlands or whatever. And the 300-acre community, Liberty City, which hadn't broken ground, had 5 times that much. So 5 times as much for 300 acres than 53 acres. Woo-woo, you know. In my opinion, the Sebastian River floodplain needs to be put back together. This is a floodplain and a flood zone. When the new urban plan is redone, this is why it's such a hurry, I think, for the developers to get this done. This will not go forward. I hope you have $2 to $4 million for litigation, and that's outside this county. That's not even counting this county who happens to file a lawsuit or environmental. Outside this county, y'all are in deep doo-doo. The lady said she doesn't understand how we've gotten here. I do. Bad planning, bad leadership. We've got an election coming up in November. I suggest good people do their duty. We have a few, the lady that just talked, she was chairman of the zoning board, a few people before me. And she said the density and that's progress. Well, if density brought you progress, and a lot of the density cities that we're dealing, they just would be just terrific, right? If you plan your progress, then you will get a better result. This whole process is Indian River County doesn't want you to go so fast. Sebastian, for whatever reason, have gotten to this point. You need to work together. And the 53 acres is a joke. The Sebastian River, to ever get back to the way it was, and to help any hurricane that might come up, who knows, that might happen in a couple of days. It gives an outlet for that push. And your dike is closed.
Thank you very much.
So you're, you know.
Thank you.
Proceed at your own.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Judy Orcutt. I'm with the Clean Water Coalition. And I want to ask you to postpone this annexation for lots of reasons, but I'm just going to talk about one major one, and that's nutrient loading. Right now, there's not an agreement about how the waste is going to be handled out of this massive community. And if an agreement can't be worked out with the county to handle sewage treatment facilities, then I just want you to have some idea about what the loading would be to the waterways. So there was a study performed in Brevard County which determines the estimate nutrient loading from I've extrapolated it to the 3,500 new residences in this development, and it would be 45,220 pounds of nitrogen per year loading into the St. Sebastian River Drainage District. That's an expense that I'm not sure you as the City Council is thinking about for the citizens of Sebastian, because we do have an impaired water body status, so we're in violation of the Clean Water Act. We have nutrient loading that we're required to reduce, And when you expand the annexation area, you're going to have an additional nutrient loading that you're going to be responsible for. The city is going to be responsible for making reductions out of a much larger area. So just to give you an idea about some of those costs, since Sebastian's utility provider is the county, they're working on septic to sewer conversion to alleviate some of that nutrient loading into the lagoon. So phase one of the septic to sewer project, which included 61 parcels, cost $2.1 million. And the nutrient loading that it was preventing to the lagoon was only 2,000 pounds of nitrogen per year. The loading from this 3,500 residences is 4,500 pounds. And on the Sebastian Phase 2 project, which is currently in the works, the cost is $2.2 million, and it's going to address 75 properties to connect them from septics to sewer, and it's going to reduce 1,984 pounds of nitrogen, which would have flowed into the Sebastian River.
Thank you very much.
Okay, it's expensive.
Thank you.
It's something to consider.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Evening, council members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Bob Seaven. I live at 150 Contra Drive. I'm a snowbird here. I still pay taxes year-round. I traveled 2,000 miles to be in this meeting tonight. I was informed that you all, this council, was trying to push through an annexation without the input of the tax-paying northerners, which most of us are still in the north. You know, my concern is you haven't even fixed the problem of spraying chemicals in your waterways, adding to nutrient levels. You haven't even addressed that. Last week, right here in this meeting, Thursday, EPA had a meeting on how to correct some of our water problems and where the money was. And they offered $750 million to help us fix the waterways. The National Estuary Program, which was well represented, stood up and says, we also have money. The room was full of people from West Palm Beach all the way up to Cocoa. The money was for people on this waterway because it's such a disaster. The national level knows we're in big, big trouble. And you want to annex more property and put poop in the ground? Oh, come on, you guys, come on. You know, the money was there, and there wasn't a single person from the city of Sebastian at that meeting here in your room. Nobody asked, well, what will we do with our dirty water? All you're concerned with is this. Okay, so, doesn't seem like you care about this. So, lastly, I'm going to say, let's not forget that unsolved sugar sand stuff, Mr. Mayor. Just try to keep that in the top of your mind. And to end this up, I got three things here. The annexation, the toxic chemicals being put in the waterway by you guys, and number three, the sugar sand. What are you going to do about that? Straighten this stuff out. Do us a favor, resign, all of you, right now. Save the embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to this city. Ridiculous. Resign right now, all of you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Doug Creeber. I live on 604 Balboa Street. I apologize. I do not have a fancy suit. I do not have an engineering degree, a law degree, any kind of a degree that would make me an expert at what we're talking about now. I'm going on the emotional end. I wasn't even thinking in my wildest dreams I was going to talk to you guys tonight. Not at all. But I got motivated by the neighbors, and I'm very proud of them for showing up tonight. It's very difficult. You've been told hearing back there. So everybody's really trying to focus as much as they can. They're doing a good job of it. But my question is, my granddaddy and my daddy, we haven't lived in Sebastian for 150 years. I don't think it really matters how long my parents or grandparents or relatives have been in Sebastian. I'm here in Sebastian. I'm paying taxes right now. I'm not saying I'm a millionaire by any means. I could have moved to Tampa, Orlando, New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, Detroit. But we chose Florida for my retirement. Me and my wife and I, we went West Coast, East Coast, North Florida, South Florida. We hooked up with a realtor, and the realtor told me, Doug, one thing, I am going to have you and your wife look at the most beautiful place in Florida. But you got to do me one favor. I'm going to set you up, but do not tell anybody where I'm setting you up in. I am setting you up, and I've heard it a million times already, in paradise. We live here because we love it here. We love the small town environment. I don't know, again, I'm not a politician. I don't know if people have guns to their heads or there's anything going on as far as expand. Anybody that does a Google search, go to Google Maps on the computer, look at the city of Sebastian. We are loaded with people right now. If you look at the area of Sebastian, there's house, there's a park, house. We are pretty loaded. So again, I'm not an expert, but I do know from 40 years in the business world that I've gone to probably 2,500 meetings where fancy people come up with charts and graphs and this and that. They're only showing you what they want you to see, and it looks good. And I'm not trying to badmouth anybody, but all I'm saying is you got to be careful when you look at charts, and especially where the chart's coming from, because they're not going to give bad information on their chart that they're presenting to you. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Council. Andrea Coy, representing herself in the city of Sebastian. Boy, am I glad I'm standing here and not sitting over there. You've got a tough choice tonight to make. I think there is good reason to maybe consider the pause button, just to get some of the questions resolved. The city has done a lot of work this week to make the changes that people were calling for, and I commend them for that. That's hard work. And they're constantly working to try to make things better. But to sit back here and listen, I feel like Chicken Little has been in here all night long, and the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Let's go back in time. 2004, I led groups like this in what was called the Lawn Chair Brigade. We had so many people, we had chairs outside, and the city manager put a TV outside for all of us. And we all brought mosquito spray because it was really horrible to sit out there. It didn't work. I was fighting annexations. But and the very next year, I ran for city council and won. And I won 6 times in a row. And have sat there and watched the city grow with consideration. Let me tell the folks who might not know, and this is their first interaction with you all, I would much rather have you decide what's going to happen to that parcel than the county. I trust you. I know your phone numbers. I can come and you will respond back to us. I don't have the same warm and fuzzy from the county. Susan Adams always returns my calls. That's it. There's only 2 representatives in the county that represent North County, Susan Adams and Mr. Fletcher. We have 5 of you that are reachable, that we can come and reach out to. Okay, there's 5 people on county commission, and only 2 of them we elect. That means 3 votes are sitting out there in Vero Beach. And believe me, I watched North County lose more often than not. I think it's critical that you annex the piece, and it's not something new. We've been talking about this.
Thank you, ma'am.
For 15 years.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Val Simon. I live in Vero Lake Estates. I breathe the air in Sebastian from time to time, and that's a little bit similar to what I want to talk about tonight. So many people have talked about the impact of more residents on nutrient levels in the river and pollutants of that sort. I'd like to explain a few more things about that. I have a PhD in biology. I've read a lot of papers on herbicides that are freely available to the general public if anyone's interested. So first of all, the city of Sebastian sprays the river and also unwanted vegetation on land on a regular basis. There's a belief that just because an herbicide is approved by the EPA and that they're following manufacturers' directions.
Ma'am, I apologize. I will return your time here in a moment. Are you speaking on the annexation?
Okay, yes.
Because now is the time to speak on the annexation.
Okay.
There will be a different point in the meeting for public input on something else.
So the annexation means that more people will have the green deserts that another lady referred to in terms of lawns devoid of vegetation. And what do these residents do? A lot of them have their lawns treated with herbicides and pesticides. So how is that going to impact the river? First of all, I'd like to explain that it's not just the active ingredient of the herbicide. The EPA allows herbicides to be approved that also have surfactants or ingredients that they do not have to disclose. These ingredients are more toxic than the active ingredient and are extremely toxic to humans and fish, as well as seagrass. These herbicides persist in the environment for much longer than they are believed to by the manufacturers. And I'd like to just say one major point, which is that Indian River County ranks in the highest category of glyphosate use already. And we are exposed to it from agricultural sources and from other governmental institutions. With more residents using more herbicides on their properties, it's going to endanger our health because our county already has an epidemic of deaths from non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This was shown in a study by Ohio State University scientists.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming. Ma'am, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming.
That was 3 minutes.
That was 3 minutes. It goes fast, doesn't it? Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
My name is Dennis Matala, and I'm a city resident of Sebastian. One thing that I hear right now is a piece of property. Oh, we got to develop it. We got to develop it. We got to destroy everything. Whatever happened to that word preservation, preserve? Does anybody know the meaning of that word? Because once it's gone, it's gone. I mean, it makes no sense to do that. I've lived in other cities, and I've seen where they clear-cut 1,000 acres and just total devastation and planting, like they said, the green desert and planting non-native plants, and there goes all the water and there goes all the stuff. And after that, here comes the crime. There goes the noise pollution, the trash, the air pollution. It's just a constant. My automobile insurance goes up, everybody's taxes goes up, and we end up paying for all that. I mean, we have a chance here in this one beautiful spot to save it and preserve it. You got to do this. You got to go right now. You have one chance to do this. Don't let it slip by. You got to keep it going like this. Preserve, not develop. And as far as communication goes, I've contacted Bill Posey's office, our state senator Debbie Mayfield, Aaron Grawl and stuff. And I called the office and Debbie Mayfield, and she said, "I'll let you know, Dennis, when I get an email then when the meeting's going to be." A week goes by, nothing happens. I called back the girl there, says, "I never got a meeting for you. Email from you saying when the meeting's going to be here in the Sebastian." Well, she said, "I've been sending messages to the city, but no one's returning them." So I called up and I told her when the meeting's going to be, and she said, "Well, thank you." You know, so where's the communication in between our higher officials? Now that's not good either. So the one thing I do see,
say right now is, I'm a simple resident. I look outside, I see trees. I go over here, I see the river. I see fish, animals, and stuff like that. I have everything. You do this annexation, you'll have nothing. Nothing but destruction. That's all I got to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Rigby. I reside at 8465, and that is Vero Beach, but I call it Wabasso. I'm going to give a little history. I'm trying to give it in 3 minutes. I've been a resident of Wabasso for over 60-something years, and I heard Mr. Bass' presentation. I think it was a great presentation. However, I think he left out the most important part is that the residents of Wabasso made Red Brothers who they are, because we worked all their farms, we picked all their fruit and whatever. And all the thing I'm going to say tonight is that I'm not here to speak against annexation. I'm not here to speak against growth because I think we need that. However, though, I think what we need to do here tonight is that backtrack a little bit. Bring everybody to the table. And when you bring everybody to the table, I don't think that you will have this. First of all, I heard them name everything else in this community except Wabasso. And I think when you include everybody in a process, that way you don't have a whole lot of turmoil. Right now there's a lot of turmoil because you have left people out. But when you inclusive and you put the good Lord in the name of everything that you do, trust me, it's going to be all right.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thomas Seether. I'm a resident of Indian River County. And I'd like to follow up on Mr. Reingold's comment regarding mediation and litigation. I don't believe that he had a chance to make his final point due to the 3-minute limitation. But my observation is that you have a choice here, that you can end up in 2 years of litigation with the county, or you can postpone and work with the county to come to a good compromise, which I believe would be something that would occur much more quickly than the litigation path would take. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Juanita Baker from 522 North Blue Island Lane in Sebastian. I think you have a lot of pressure on you, it sounds like, from the state even, to develop and bring in new people. And yet we have a very unique community here. We have so many lovely lands, and I speak for the birds, and I just wanted to come here and speak for the wildlife and all of the lovely things that we have here in this community. And that's why all of these people are here and concerned about what you're doing and what your decision's going to be. Now, it seems to me, if I was in your place, I would want to focus on trying to preserve as much of this land as possible. And it sounds like that's what's the real concern here, is that this plan, even though it sounds like it has some waterway considerations that I thought Mr. Bass did a good job of explaining, it isn't enough for this particular area and for our own community. So I guess my job, if I was one of you, would be to try to preserve many more lands. And we haven't had in the last 12 years any lands extra preserved because we didn't have the Florida Forever kind of process where we could use matching funds from the state to help us preserve these wonderful lands. And though you say, oh, we might have this, but 98% of the land really is owned by the public or the private sector. So putting in things that will preserve this community by insisting on more greeneries and more public greenways instead of all these little plots of land separate, we need to think of that as part of your plan. And it sounds like I would like you to postpone this so that you can think more carefully of it and help really plan it out with the graves included and with everyone in this community included too. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, women and men. Appreciate what you're doing up there. You are hearing about 30 different reasons why not to approve this now. I think you ought to listen to everybody that was here. I heard only 3 people speaking for the project. Is there anybody here?
No, sir. Sir? Excuse me, sir.
For the project?
Beg your pardon, Dr. Baker. I would ask,
just was wondering.
sir, you know the rules of this. You've spoken before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to simply ask you to direct your comments to this chair.
I will.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And to all of you there. I get the feeling that there's a sort of an animosity of you with the county officials. You had the county administrator up here giving him 3 minutes. Why don't you talk to the county? You had the county attorney here. You cut him off at 3 minutes. Do you have a good relationship with the county staff, the county people, commissioners? We need to work together if we're going to solve this problem. You need to talk to them. When I talked to you last month, I guess it was, when you had your first meeting on this thing, you hadn't even talked to the county. You weren't even aware of the county. You hadn't received their letter. So I'm really concerned about it. Let's take time and get this right. It's not just for the Groves brothers. Water is our lifeblood, and it connects us all together here. And across the state, we're having huge problems. Even the county here with their dealing with their human poop. It goes through a sewer system, and we hope that it would be a sewer. But that poop is going to the landfill, and that's happening all over the world, and it's not working. We're not putting it on agricultural lands. You see all Blue Cypress Lake, what happened there? We're worried about the Sebastian River. I live on the Sebastian River. We're worried about our lagoon. We got to work together to solve these problems, and we might as well start right now, not tomorrow, right now. I hope you vote against this, or at least allowing to have more communication between people, between the county, even Fellsmere. I mean, you've got all kinds of interrelationships here that you have to make a relationship or continue a dialogue and allow these people to speak. 3 minutes is kind of a short time, but there were 30 different reasons given here tonight not to do this in a hurry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Woolsey. I live at 8625 70th Avenue. That's technically Vero, but I can see Sebastian from my front yard since you moved the property line up about 50 yards from my property. I've been here about 30 years now. When I moved in, it was a little dirt road, very rutted. It was wonderful. It was surrounded by groves. A few years ago, the annexed area right down the road from me became a Cross Creek development, which took years. And I have personally felt what happens with annexation. Traffic is nonstop in the mornings. Traffic from 510 past my house down into Sebastian is backed up. You cannot get onto 510. It's taken me at rush hour sometimes 7 minutes to turn the corner. I've worked in Sebastian. I work in Orchid right now. I come home, 510 it's a parking lot. It terrifies me that we're going to add this many people. I know the county has set out road ideas. I just think we need to do a coordinated effort. It's our one time. The environment is amazing. The climate is, maybe people don't think it's changing, but the water is coming up. Look at Miami. We have to look long-term at our solutions beyond just, let's bring this many houses in here. I live in Vero technically, but I use all the services. I put my money into Sebastian. I shop in Sebastian. I pay my sales tax in Sebastian. Everything goes there. I feel that when people have said just delay, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying let's have a real idea. Let's grab this opportunity to do something brilliant. Let's do something that is forward-looking, not just for dollars and cents, but for the environment, for the animals, for the greenways, for us, for the quality of our life in this county. We're killing our river, and if we don't start addressing all these problems, and this is a chance. This is a chance to take 1,000 acres and more than just 50 acres. I've got a 50-acre farm in Illinois. I know what 50 acres is. It's not a whole lot. there's my green area. I don't think so. And we could be really creative. We could demand we use native plants. We could demand that we do things to look for the future. Let's take that chance. Let's delay. Let's talk with the county. Let's talk with Wabasso. Let's talk with Orchid. Let's talk with the people, and let's coordinate. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Susana Quintana, and I live on 766 Concha Drive. I think I have heard enough by, the residents and the people that obviously have, and are experts in the different topics. And I don't think we as residents have enough information. We have not been educated to make such a huge decision. It might be good at the end if we have enough information. I think we might be able to decide, yes, this is a good thing. But at this time, I don't think enough research has been done. Yes, the owner of this property has very colorful maps, and it looks great on paper. I would like to know, number one, if those maps and all the documentation that they provided on their presentation is available to the public. Is that in public domain? Because I would personally like to know, read that, and be educated about it. Because this is not a minor issue that we're trying to decide. This is a huge situation. And the decision that you guys have to make now is going to impact your kids, your grandkids, and generations to come. I believe more information needs to come forward. I think, like they said, the county needs to have more than 3 minutes to tell their points. And I don't think that has been done. It looks very nice with the owner's presentation. It looks great. But like that lady said, 50 acres is not that much. So I think you all need to do more due diligence to make the correct decision that it will impact environment and everything else. Thank you much.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to close public input on these items, and we're going to take a 10-minute break. Council will be back at 8:50. I will now call this meeting back to order. Thank you all very much. We appreciate all of the comments that you guys brought to us tonight. I mean, and I will say that the candor you guys acted in was amazing. You guys were very polite to the speakers, whether they were in favor or opposed, and that really helps us to run a good, solid meeting. So I very much appreciate your words as well as your behavior. And it helps us to listen and get good knowledge from people, but it also helps that everyone can have an opportunity to speak. So I very much appreciate the way you guys proceeded this evening. So, Mr. Carlisle, do you have anything to bring after that?
Yeah, if I could, Mayor, member of council, just to clarify a few things, and a lot of the speakers brought up some of the same things that were addressed in Ms. Fraser's presentation. The city's not going to allow this project when it goes to develop. This is not a development at this point. It's a future land use. Our ordinances and our annexation agreement will not allow for septic and well on that property. If they can't get sanitary sewer and water, they will not get a development agreement from the city. They keep bringing up the conservation easement as being the only green space. If they've watched the presentation, under the current code, under the current plan unit development, as it develops, it will require a 50% green space for the residential. The presentation showed a breakout of 513 acres, but I keep hearing it's only 43 acres. So we just want to clarify, as these projects develop, the whole 1,000 acres is under a planned unit of development that requires that green space. And we worked hard on this annexation agreement, and we took a lot of that from what we were recommended on Fellsmere and put it in there to try to address it. It may not be addressed exactly the way the county would like it addressed, but we feel that our annexation agreement addresses the major concerns. They have to pay for their water and sewer. The county doesn't have to pay for it. They have to provide the open space per the PUD. It's not specified how many acres in the agreement, but it's specified in our PUD, our planned unit of development. It's called a planned unit of development because they have to do the planning for it. This is not a rushed program. This is not something that we're doing merely for taxes. This allows the city to control its destiny, as I've said and been quoted in the paper. It allows the city the opportunity to not allow urban sprawl in just residential units, which has been previously done. Sebastian is a great community. I moved here. I've been coming to Sebastian for years and years and years. I grew up in small town Florida. The thing that we need to realize is that Sebastian, though it was a great community, it was designed and developed by a developer. It was general development that designed it. They didn't make the provisions that we're trying to do for the commercial corridor, for the job centers. This will allow us that opportunity as this develops, which will be over years and years to come. We're not trying to push the council into annexing. The applicant came to us with an annexation application. We're required to bring that to you for consideration. We're also required to try to make sure that it meets the elements of our comprehensive plan, which we have done. We sat down through many iterations of their comp plan or their proposed future land use map. Again, this is not zoning. This is not approving development. We made them make all kinds of modifications to that plan to make sure that it was consistent with our comprehensive plan, with the elements that we are short in our comprehensive plan, our green space, our commercial corridors, water, sewer, all of those things are in our plans, and they're addressed in this. They're addressed in the annexation agreement. We may not spell everything. We don't say what size the water main should be or where a pump station should be, but we have those lands that they have to dedicate as those come true. The school sites have to be dedicated when it comes time for a school site. The fire stations have to be dedicated. And all of those residents that come in are like every resident builds a new house in Sebastian today that has an impact on fire and schools and police. They pay impact fees to support the future growth of those. As they go to develop, they'll have to pay impact fees for water, sewer, fire, police, ambulances. Those things will be driven by impact fees and fees of taxation that the county receives as well as the city. So it's not rushed. It's not all about taxes. Everybody has to pay their own way. The developer has to set aside these lands as it develops. Again, but we're not asking you to develop. If you so choose to develop this or to annex this property and the future land use through these two public hearings, that doesn't mean tomorrow there's going to be 10,000 people on our southern border. It's going to take years for that to happen. We're here to provide you with the accurate information. We're not here to give you propaganda. These are things that we think make the elements in Sebastian to make us successful. We can have development there. We don't have to have the control over it, But I think this will allow us an opportunity to provide the job centers, to provide the economic incentives, to bring businesses here, to keep the Sebastian what it is today, a place where people can live, work, and play. And we are going to work diligently as each one of these developments come through to make sure that those things happen. But the green space is accounted for, the utilities are accounted for. We're not allowing that to happen without those elements. So those are my comments, and I'd be happy, staff, to answer any questions you may have. And I know the applicant had asked for some time, again, to address your concerns.
Yes, I'll go ahead and ask Mr. Bass if you have anything you would like to add.
Thank you. I really don't have anything to add. I would offer, I'll make one comment, and I think Ms. Cottenberg said it best. This land is going to develop. It's not going away. The people coming to Sebastian, you've created something here that people want. They're going to come. So the best way to do that is to manage it. And I think you guys are in the best position to do that, and ma'am. So I'll take any questions that you'd like.
Okay. We're good right now? All right.
Okay, very good.
Thank you very much. I'll just start, if that's all right with council, I will just start by saying, again, I thank everyone for coming up here. And you know, it's interesting as I'm writing things down that you're saying to me this evening, how much I agree with you. How much I agree with you about conservation, and how much I agree with you that growth is scary, and I fear it. I don't like to see it. I fear the fact that we may have another 3,000 homes right by Sebastian. But I fear more that we would have those homes right next to us without any control over how it gets developed. It's interesting, there was an individual up this evening that said that they're living in Sebastian River Landing, and they love it, and they love Sebastian, and it's a great place. Sebastian River Landing was annexed into the city of Sebastian. It's one of the first annexes I was involved in back in the early 2000s. You know, I got on the city council, I got involved in government because I was concerned about this community that I love so much and wanted to raise my children in. And that was 20 years ago. 1999 was the first time I ran for politics because, you know, when I was off in college and I came back, the county had put this monstrosity of 512 through our city, this big road that in some areas, it's wider than some areas of 95 that was going through at the time. And so I saw, you know, stores popping up that I feared a little bit because it wasn't that great, you know, thing that I envisioned when I moved here and there were 6,000 people. There were 6,000 people in this community when I did move here. So I was afraid. I was afraid of growth and development, and I wanted to make sure that someone like me who cared about this community would have a say in it. And I think we've done a pretty darn good job over the last 20 years because Sebastian is considerably larger than it was. But I would dare to say that Sebastian is just as darn good as it was when I got involved, if not better. We have a thriving riverfront district that people love to go to. And when you say it's paradise, you know, you're right, it is paradise. Sebastian is paradise, and it is paradise today, like it was back in 1990 when I moved here. So I agree with so many of the things that you say. I will tell you right now that there won't be septics in this community. It's against the law to have septics in this community. It says it in the ordinance. It says it in the annexation agreement, which, by the way, we did an annexation agreement. I've heard several say that we don't have an annexation agreement. That's false. We do have that. I heard several people say that, you know, as we put poop in the ground, it's gonna destroy the river, and I would agree that it would, and we shouldn't do that. And so I want to make sure we don't do that. One of the things that I fear when I look at the maps that they showed, and those maps are factual, when they show those communities that are right next to the city of Sebastian, in fact, right next to the annexation that we're potentially going to do this evening, when they show those maps, those are real. Those are real neighborhoods. Those are real gated communities. All you have to do is look across the street from Treasure Coast Elementary. That monstrosity of a gated community that's empty sitting across the street from Treasure Coast Elementary is the county. That's what the county's doing to you. That's the kind of development that they're putting on us. And then if you looked at all of the homes in Liberty Square. Now, I don't know, they're not there yet, but they will be. Those homes, back in I think it was 2008 when they allowed that property to go into development. That property, most of which is outside the urban service boundary, which they talk about now that we're talking about developing outside the urban service boundary. Well, that property was outside the urban service boundary, and those are small lots. And boy, I tell you, they're getting a lot of houses in there. like 1,000 houses right in that area. And then if you look over by I guess it's Blue Water Bay or something like that, there's another 900 homes going in the 2 subdivisions that they approved over there. And then you have Paladin Place 2 that's, well, it used to be, and there's bunches of homes going in there. And then there's another development directly next to that that's a bunch of homes, and those are all on 510. That's what the county has done to us over the last 2 decades. It's a virtual invasion of development and growth that the city of Sebastian has zero control over, none. We can't control any of that. We don't get any tax dollars. So, yes, I fear growth and development, but I don't fear it in the hands of the leaders of the city of Sebastian, because the people that move here and that run for this board and this council, well, we do that because we love this community. And I believe in the people that come up here and get elected because they love this community. And so I would rather it be in the hands of those individuals. And, you know, there are a lot of things, great points you brought up. The septic issue, that is not an issue. I wish we could drill it into everyone's head that the septic is not an issue here. If the developer cannot find water and sewer, they cannot develop. It is required in our ordinance that the developer must, prior to going into even planning, show that there is capacity for sewer and water. So it's not going to develop unless there's water and sewer. Can't happen. It's against the law, and it's in the developer or the annexation agreement. All of those things are so important. The conservation issue, incredibly important to me. I love kayaking up and down the Sebastian River. I love seeing the manatees eating the grass off the bank. It's one of the things I love to do with my family. I would never do anything that would put that river in jeopardy. I love to see that this annexation plan, as it is right now, and it's just a plan, I love to see that there's conservation completely surrounding all of those sensitive lands. And then, you may not know this, but directly surrounding that conservation, there are larger lots and larger setbacks that are going to be required in this community. There's a lot of things that people don't know about this that we know about. And this has been going on for a year. This process has been going on for several months with the county. We've been in negotiations and discussions with Indian River County over this for months. We've had public hearings on this. And the concern that I hear most, and the one that really gets to me, is that we're against growth and development, because you know what? I am too, unless the city of Sebastian can make sure it's done in a way that enhances this community, and that the growth and development that takes place pays for itself, and that it provides stores and shops, and maybe some light industry, and it's going to have parks. You know, Barber Street Sports Complex is going to be overrun someday. Well, there's room in this project to have another sports complex for the kids. So this is what I think we need to do, and I'm very comfortable that we have a staff that are incredible, and they've gone through, jumping through hoops for months, actually almost a year now, and trying to get this thing done right. The PUD process in the city of Sebastian is wonderful. Now, I made a lot of notes. I want to be quick. I promise, because I just went blather. But this is important. Plan, plan, plan. That's what I heard. This is a great plan, and this is not even the first iteration of this plan. We've been in this process. I think this is like maybe the 3rd time we've seen something. Utilities will be paid for by whoever develops this land. They're the ones that are going to fit the bill for this. They're the ones that are going to have to supply land. They're the ones that are going to have to run the pipes. They're the ones that are going to have to pay for water and sewer to be on this property. Not a single taxpayer in Sebastian that's currently here is going to have to be there to pay for that. That's incredibly important. They're going to provide us with parks. They're going to pay parks and recreation impact fees. They're going to have to pay stormwater utilities while improving the stormwater on this property. This is a project that, if in the hands of those who care most about Sebastian, not someone who's going to take densities out of Vero Beach and move it to our border and not allow us to have any of the benefits from that, if it's in our hands, the ones who really truly care about the city of Sebastian, I know it's going to be done right. So I quite frankly am pleased with what I see. I'm pleased with the public input. I'm pleased with everything you brought. Your comments make me even more sure that this is the right thing to do. I have no doubt in my mind. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much for maintaining a level of decorum. You did a great job through public input, and I would appreciate it if you do that during deliberations. So for that reason and many, many other reasons, I would move approval of ordinance number O-19-4.
I'll second it.
All right. Anyone else from council? Mr. Dodd? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a few minutes worth of comments. First of all, the city clerk does a great job of providing us information and making sure we get copies of all the emails and all the stuff that comes into the city pertaining to all the issues. I got my last packet, I believe yesterday, from the city clerk with the copies of some emails. And I took them out and started to read them, and I did not notice that in the envelope that she sent this in, there was another envelope, and I pulled it out. And the envelope was from the Mental Health Association of Indian River County. And I thought to myself, how perceptive of the city clerk to know that I'm going to need that kind of help after this issue is covered. You know, and she does a great job. I didn't realize that she read my mind like that, but I think one of the real issues that I'm hearing, and I want to apologize because I'm probably maybe chastised by some people for saying this, but I tend to agree with a lot of the speakers that they were not well informed, and I think maybe the city could have done a better job of getting this information out. I know the process has been elongated. It's been going on for, as the county attorney said when he read into his minutes for the court reporter, it's been going on for about 18 months or so when the first email was crossed about the annexation, and the city staff has done an awful lot of work on this. And I think maybe we probably needed to do a little bit better job of getting information out to the residents of the county. And I tend, like the mayor, to say to you that I agree with everything you said. I think Richard Gilmore said it very well. If I had my druthers, Sebastian would freeze. But I will tell you that I look around and I know that Sebastian can't freeze. I look at the cities in South Florida that are now considered to be the most downtrodden, and they're the cities that tried to freeze when the development was going on there. I look at all over the country at the cities that have the big problems. They've tried to freeze. We're going to have to, for example, the city of Sebastian is going to have to foot the bill to widen part of 510 from where the county stops up to the Barber Street intersection and pay for expanding the Barber Street intersection and pay for straightening Barber Street because of Liberty Park. But we're not getting a single dollar worth of revenue from Liberty Park to pay for that. And it's a certainty in my mind that once they build that subdivision, not including the other subdivisions that the county has approved on 510, I'm certain in my mind that we're going to be forced, and I think the last time that was talked about by the city, it was close to $1 million. So the city's going to be forced to do that work, and we're going to be forced to do that work because of the expansion of homes in an area that we no longer control. We don't control. It's being done by that. I think there's been a lot of conversation. The one thing that's disturbed me about this the most is for people to think that we don't really care up here. We do care. We have had conversations with the county. I personally, as a result of a piece of information that came to me during a Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting, I personally came to the City Council that same night and asked for them to request that the Planning and Zoning Commission table hearing the land use plan, so that we could address that at the next Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting. That was turned into on social media as though I was trying to circumvent the process and sneak it through, when in reality I was trying to work with the county. We met that next Metropolitan Organization and we heard the same thing we've heard all along. You can't do this. Fingers on table, pounding. You can't do this. Well, no amount of fingers on the table, no amount of bullying can say that we can't do this. I believe, quite frankly, that I'm not sure that I have good faith that the county can negotiate with us on this. I met with a representative of the Indian River Neighborhood Association, or Indian River Taxpayers Association. I told him, after he told me that he was going to meet with county commissioners that afternoon, that I would be willing to champion with the city council for the city council to appoint a member, if the county commission would appoint a member, and 2 elected officials sit down and build a framework for annexation for the area. Never went anywhere. The next time I heard from the gentleman, he was standing up at a county commission meeting saying we shouldn't do the annexation. Okay, I can tell you, I have personally taken steps to reach out to the county. And I got back from that very negative feedback. I didn't get back from that anything positive. I didn't get back anybody. I haven't received a phone call. The first time that I heard from the Clean Water Coalition was when we got a letter, and the last sentence of the letter said, you do what we state above or we're going to sue you. No one from Clean Water Coalition called me. Did they call anybody else up here? So you have to understand that we're not being bad stewards, and we're not trying to communicate. So I want to go, I also, like the bear did, I actually made some pre-things and made notes. I want to talk about a couple of things here. A plan acceptable to all. Stop the process and build a better plan. Well, I've thought about that, and I've thought about stopping the process and build a better plan. I've hemmed and hawed for the last 2 weeks about trying to think about tabling this process and whether it would mean something or not. And then I had to sit back and put my big boy pants on, and I had to realize that there's a difference between governing and partisan politics. Be very careful of the person who tells you you can know everything before you do anything. They have a hidden agenda, and they're trying to facilitate their hidden agenda. So be very careful about that. That's not the way the world works. That's not the way any major development's ever been done. You don't know everything. You have to do things as you move along. You plan, you work the plan, you change the plan, you work the plan, you change the plan, you work the plan. It's that way in business, it's that way in government. You have to do that process. It's impossible to know that, so be very careful about people that tell you that. There's an awful lot of stuff in social media. There's an awful lot of stuff in meetings that have been held that are all aimed at politics. They're all aimed at people trying to facilitate an angry crowd in a populist mode because they're running for city council or they're doing something else. You have to put yourself above that, and you have to think about what governing means. And governing to Sebastian means that we recognize that the growth that's already been approved by the county is going to force us to spend money. A lot of money, and we can't control that. And we have a landowner who's come to Sebastian and asked to be made part of Sebastian. And I just want to tell you that I heard an interesting comment made by a very, very nice gentleman who I have a lot of respect for, and he's the mayor of the city of Fellsmere. And he said Fellsmere never volunteered to annex any property. They were approached by property owners who couldn't get what they wanted from the county. That's exactly what's happened here. We've been approached by a property owner who can't get what he wants from the county to develop in order to do the property. And the reason is, quite frankly, there's nobody rushing to the county to build new towns. There's just nobody rushing in to do that. Everybody's rushing away from the county, probably because of the new town concept. Yet we're showing you, Lisa this evening showed you that we're talking about having open space, Newtown 500 acres. Our open space is going to be like 460. It's not dramatically different than what a Newtown will have. The small town feel, it would be great if we could stay small town. We can't. 3,000 new homes on 510, not counting what will be built on this property if we don't annex it. Those 3,000 homes have already destroyed our small town. And we have no revenue, none whatsoever. The $3 million windfall that was mentioned earlier by one of the speakers, that's not a windfall of the city of Sebastian. That is an assessment that's placed for recreational needs on the property. As it's developed, we're going to receive recreational assessment dollars that's going to support the recreational system inside the city. The county's going to get $17 million if they can get past their issues with the water system, which I firmly believe they will. I think when time begins to develop, I don't see the county not moving this property in the urban service area. They have too much to gain. The property has a $3 million gallon per day permit to pull water. 3 million gallons a day. They're going to use 1 million. I don't know that the county can't work some deal with that. There's all kinds of opportunities to deal with that, and I think the county will work through that. I even heard the county administrator this evening, and I appreciate him telling me that he did that in writing. I heard him say that that's not a definite. I read in the newspaper that everybody at the county said it's a no. That was very well put in the newspaper. Be careful of what you read. It might be fake news, okay? Be careful of that, okay? So a small town can't stay. 3,699 residents, that's not gonna happen. I don't care what the plan says, that's not gonna happen. The market is going to demand what is built there, and what is built there is going to be a large footprint of workforce housing. That's what we have to have in this city, is workforce housing. It's what we have to have in Florida, workforce housing. You can't work in service jobs, which is what we have in this area, and afford a $1,500 a month rent payment on an apartment. You can't do it. So we have a need for workforce housing in this area. The traffic problems, they're already there. 3,000 houses come in, 510's already booked up. We have to deal with that. There's nothing we can do with that. And like the mayor said, we've got part of the agreement. They cannot build on this property a single building without having some form of a centralized water and sewer system, period. They can't do it. Now, because we can't say this directly, we're not telling the owner he has to have the county water and sewer, because they have said that they won't deliver it. Now they're saying maybe, which is great news to me. But we're just saying he has to have a centralized system. We can't mandate to the county that they give that, although there's a lot of arguments about what our interlocal agreement says. And I will tell you that Liberty Village will have sanitary system before Sebastian Highlands does, yet our interlocal agreement requires that they do that. The 800 acres that were annexed into Fellsmere will probably have sanitary sewer before the Sebastian Highlands does. Yet our interlocal agreement, which predates all of that, stipulates that they will do that in Sebastian. That's just another one of the concerns that I have in this process. I'm not in favor of the growth, and if I thought that I could stop it, I would vote against this completely. But I do think that putting on my hat as an elected official in Sebastian, who has the responsibility to try to represent the best thing for the city, I think I would have a very hard time voting against it. And I just don't see where tabling it will gain anything for us, because I don't think we're going to be able to get anything better than what we've got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. McFarland? Mr. McFarland?
Yes, I think this is a great meeting. I wish this many people came out to every meeting that we do here. And, you know, I heard a lot of things. I don't want to say anybody bullied me, because I got a pretty thick skin working for the Department of Children and Families. Nobody ever likes me coming to their door. But the thing is, you know, I was trying, let's put it on hold for a month, but I agree with you, Mr. Dodd. We've read all this information. Everybody who's out here, I would suggest to you and tell your friends, is to read the entire packet, which is available online, and digest the information. There's a lot of naysayers out there saying it. I can't say it again, because I'm probably sure it's going to happen. There's going to be no septics on the residential properties out there. It's all going to have to be hooked up to water and sewer. I think the most important thing is always to be informed and involved. And if a city doesn't grow, it dies, as Mr. Dodd mentioned in several of the towns. And we're looking at this piece of property is ultimately going to be developed. Now, do you want us to have control over that development, or do you want the county? And what a lot of people don't understand is, several years ago, if you were coming to meetings, because sometimes we'd only have 3 people, is when they started the Indian River Lagoon Council. The county didn't want to get involved in it. They didn't want to be part of the 5-county network, which gets a lot of money. What did Sebastian do when we first heard that? We said, we'll take the whole thing. We'll take that seat. We'll pay the money. But what did we do? We collaborated with Fellsmere, with Vero Beach to do it. And it wasn't until about 2 years later where the county said, oh, we'll step forward and we'll do that. You know, another issue that came forth recently was the fire marshal issue. Everybody wanted the county doing the fire marshal. They were going to sue us. I anticipate if this does go through tonight, we are going to be filed lawsuits. But again, the stuff I think is pretty rock solid. And we've done our own fire marshal for over a year.
and we've done it the best. Now, some people have mentioned they want to move into the city because the county can't address their needs. Well, the thing is, the city is not going to make it any easier for them. It's not like I'm going to get into the city of Sebastian and I'll be able to do all this and put as many septic systems on the table as I want. And again, it's like the projects that are around the city, it adds to the resources. Also in the packet, in the material, it talks about where the tax revenue is going to come from. If the schools need to be built, they're donating the land for the school. And again, Indian River Schools, enrollment has gone down. You know, people would think at 3,000 homes, there's going to be 15,000 people moving in the neighborhood. It's not going to be that many. And it's going to develop over time, as Mr. Graves had mentioned, over 8 to 15 years. As well as the MPO, which is a Metropolitan Planning Organization that looks at transportation, 510's been on the plan to be widened for years. It needs to be. There's gridlock in the morning and at night. You know, you're going to be looking at a roundabout at 66th Avenue, and people complain about that. Oh, we can't have roundabouts. But roundabouts are efficient for moving traffic from one way to another. So at the end of the meeting, I suggest, I don't know what's going to happen, but read the entire agenda. Don't just listen to other people.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Yavino? Oh, would you like to go, ma'am?
Well, I agree with most of what's been said here. I did speak to the city manager about creating an annexation agreement, and it's not exactly what I had in mind. I thought it would be a little bit thicker, but it has all of the points in it that were brought up at the MPO meeting. Maybe not the way the county wanted them to be, but it still has all the selling points that they wanted in an annexation agreement, and they told us not to do it without an annexation agreement, so we created an annexation agreement. I've heard all of the information that you all spoke, and postponing is not going to make a difference. I don't think any agreements are going to change. I mean, the county has their point of view, and we have our point of view, and I don't think that there's going to be a middle point of view. I hope there is, but I don't think there will be. And I had a face-to-face sit-down with Mr. Bass from Graves Brothers, and he told me that there will be no development on this property for 8 to 10 to 15 years because he wants to wait until the FDOT widens 510. Well, 510 was supposed to be widened in 2007. This is 2019. So look how long it's taken them so far. How much longer is it going to be before they widen 510? So I have no concerns over that matter at this point, and I would rather see our city decide what goes on that property when it gets developed than someone outside the city limits.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Yavino.
Mr. Graves, can I just ask you a brief question? All these organizations, the Clean Water Coalition, what have you, have any of them...
Come to the mic.
When this annexation became public and was put out, did any of these organizations contact you personally and ask you any questions or what your plans were or what your intentions were?
No, that's a good question. I was contacted by no one.
Okay.
I did have a discussion with Aubrey Rigby about Wabasso. He's the only gentleman, only individual that contacted me, and I found that very ironic.
And how long have you been in this county?
All my life.
Okay, so you would say you're pretty well known, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And very accessible.
That was my only question. I want to also...
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. I appreciate that. There was a comment made about the hospital system steward or the former Sebastian River Medical Center. I've actually had several conversations with the CEO, and they're expanding 200 rooms as we speak now in anticipation of growth and to handle the current needs of the hospital now. So we're not going to need to build another hospital. Steward Group is working on actually expanding their hospital now to meet the needs of Sebastian. I'm not going to reiterate anything that any of the council members have said here tonight. I am going to make one quick comment. I have received several emails, a few phone calls, basically, not directly, but alluding to if I don't table this annexation and vote a certain way, that I can look at not being reelected, or a complaint filed with me with the State Board of Elections because I'm a police officer and a part-time council member. And I can assure you that I did my due diligence and looked into this greatly before I ever ran the first time to run for this office. And I've actually been in talks with the city attorney, and Mr. Stokes, if you want to expand on that a little bit for me.
Well, as I explained to you, the issue of dual office holding is rather complex. First of all, it's not statutory at all. It's in the Constitution. It says that no person can hold two public offices. From that point on, it pretty much has been a matter of interpretation by the Florida Attorney General. And there are a number of opinions from the Attorney General. Attorney General opinions are instructive, they're not controlling, and most importantly is they're very fact specific. When you request an Attorney General's opinion, you have to give very detailed facts, and looking at all the cases, and there are quite a few that deal with dual office holding and quite a few that deal with dual office holding involving sworn law enforcement officers. But sworn law enforcement officer itself is kind of a broad thing, because you have investigators, you have auxiliary officers, you have reserve officers, you have all kinds of things, and the Attorney General has been back and forth on different things. Also, whether a person is holding two offices in the same agency versus different agencies, whether one's a state level and one's a local level, they're all very fact specific. There is nothing on point right now that discusses a city council member in one community and a dual, actually multi-certified public safety officer in another community. It would be something that we could seek guidance on if you want, but up to this point, there's nothing out there that shows that you would be in violation of any dual office holding.
And I appreciate that. So with that being said, I ran for office. I'm sitting up here tonight because I wanted to do what I thought, as a resident of this city, and I've been here since 2002, and that's not as long as some of you, but that's more than others. And I came here to do what I thought was in the best interest of the city. And everything that I've had presented to me, and although this is a hard decision, I'm not going to let internet rhetoric, Facebook, social media, threats, phone calls and emails sway what's right for the city, because at the end of the day, it's not about me, and it's not about me sitting here in this seat, and I might be shooting myself in the foot, and I might not be sitting here after November. And if that's the case, then so be it. But I know that between myself and God, that I'm going to make the right decision, and I'm sticking by it. And that's my statement. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anything further from council members? All right, none. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dodd.
Yes.
Councilmember Avino.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Yes.
Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Council, that moves us to item 9B. Mr. Stokes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Don't we got to take a vote to extend the meeting 30 minutes? We're up on the 9:30.
I beg your pardon. Yes, sir.
Okay, I make a motion to extend for 30 minutes.
All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. We're going to take about 2 minutes, please.
That was just for one of the ordinances. Did he just jump to the next one? What did he jump to? It brings us to.
We're going to take a 2-minute break.
Oh, B? Okay.
All right, recall the meeting to order.
Back in.
Item 9B, for Mr. Stokes.
Yes, ordinance 19-0-19-05, an ordinance of the City of Sebastian, Florida, relating to comprehensive plan amending the future land use map by establishing land use classifications of CG, Commercial General, CL, Commercial Limited, IN, Industrial, INS, Institutional, MDR, Medium Density Residential, LDR, Low Density Residential, VLDR, Very Low Density Residential, and C, Conservation, for annexed land with a prior county land use designation of AG1, Agriculture, 1 unit per 5 acres, on property consisting of 1,046.7 acres, more or less, located south of County Road 510, west of lands adjacent to 74th Avenue, north of 69th Street, and east of 82nd Avenue, authorizing findings and administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for Scrivener's errors, providing an effective date, and providing an adoption schedule.
All right, thank you very much.
What I would suggest, before you started the first hearing, you told everybody that the presentation and the comments would all apply to both. I would suggest you entertain a motion to incorporate by reference all the presentations, comments, and not deliberation, I'd say comments and presentation from the first item into this item, and then you can call a second motion for approval or denial based upon whatever council wants.
So move.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. With that, I'd make a motion to approve ordinance number 0-19-05.
Second.
Any discussion from council on this item? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Iovino.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Yes.
Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen. Yes. Councilmember Dodd.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That moves us to item 10. There's no unfinished business. Item 11, public input. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to bring anything to this council tonight that is not currently on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we have no new business. Mr. Stokes.
The only item I would say is I hope you're not going too far away, because we will probably need you to do a declaration of a state of emergency in a day or two. So, but
yes, sir.
Other than that, I have nothing else.
I will be here for you. Mr. Carlisle.
To piggyback on what the attorney said, for those of you who have not paid attention to the news, I think everybody knows there is now Hurricane Dorian hanging out on in the Caribbean. It is headed our way. They're calling for, at this point, a Category 3 storm that will be at our doorstep on Sunday night, Monday morning. Now is not the time to panic. It's time to plan, make preparations, be ready for this. This is not a small storm. This is not a tropical wave. And over the next few days, it may change course. But as of today, it's a Cat 3 coming off the coast, and it's predicted Vero is the center of the cone based on the 5 o'clock predictions. This is not to instill panic, but those of you who have your plans, your hurricane plans, let's get them out. Let's get yourself ready. Make sure that you're prepared for this, because it could happen. And right now and I know it's a 5 days out, but we're in the center of the cone. So make preparations. The city's making preparations. We're getting our shutters up. We're going to be ready to serve the public if this does in fact make landfall. And it's a shame that it's over the Labor Day weekend, but the thing is to make sure that you, your family, and your pets, and all of your loved ones are safe and that they're taken care of. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. Ms. Williams. All right, thank you. Councilmember Dodd.
Well, I guess I was just going to ask a question. I seem to remember one time in the past that there was a resolution by the council authorizing the city manager in the emergency to act. Is that the emergency resolution you referenced? Do we have to do something?
Well, I had this discussion with the police chief, Mr. Carlisle, and I actually didn't have a chance to talk about it because of everything else going on. But my understanding is that was done previously or in recent years, that the manager signed it. I will say that our charter still calls for the mayor to sign it. I pulled up the old documents, and they all do seem to indicate that the mayor signs it. Not that it needs council approval, because the charter just says the mayor can sign the declaration of state of emergency.
That's all I wanted to make sure of. I'm good with that.
I think we'll be okay with that. So.
Okay, nothing further? All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Iovino.
I just wanted to thank you guys. I know that this has been extremely stressful on everybody. I've had my fair share of upset stomach over all this, and it's a lot to take in, and there's a lot of rhetoric and garbage on social media, and I'm a true believer that we have, all y'all sitting there, we have hired a staff that we can put 100% of our trust in and know that you guys are doing what's in the best interest of the city, which is ultimately what I think everybody up here wants to do. And I wanted to say that I really, truly appreciate this one. This was a big one. I know it's a lot. I know you guys have taken a lot of garbage over it, and I appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to the other council members and the mayor and vice mayor. This was a lot, and I appreciate your guys' comments and the support and standing by the city. I think we did a good job with this one personally.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember McPartlin.
Okay, I guess just to reiterate, the storm is coming, be prepared, but also during this time, try and be patient with others, and if you have some elderly neighbors who need some assistance, reach out and give them a hand, because I know the city will be in fine shape. This isn't our first rodeo, but...
All right, thank you very much. What he said, I have nothing further. Madam Vice Mayor.
Echoing everyone's comments, and I just pray that the storm changes and goes north and hits Cape Canaveral and leaves Sebastian alone.
Well, I'm sure those in the Cape will be happy to hear that.
Well, I'm sorry about them, but this is us.
There being no further business, we are adjourned.